Chapter 746. Drinking a mouthful of cold water would cause one's teeth to get stuck, and eating a popsicle would cause one's heart to ache. They were simply plagued by bad luck, and everything went wrong. This was their most direct experience today. Was this still the Earth that had been destroyed in ancient times? Could this still be considered a declining land? The heaven illuminators outside of Earth wanted to vomit blood. This kind of experience made their faces as black as the bottom of a pot. Again and again, there were continuous surprises. Now, the most uneasy and awkward person was naturally the old man Anshing who had attacked just now. He hadn't even withdrawn his palm print and was frozen there. He was truly in a dilemma. Although he wanted to curse in his heart, he wore a smile on his face and said, "Dao friend, you're too polite. There's no need for you to welcome me. I accidentally disturbed your cultivation. I'll leave now. Then please atone for your sins." In the desert, the blue spider lilies swayed and a gentle voice was heard. "What?" Anshing raised his voice. Earlier, the other party had said to ask for forgiveness for not going out to welcome him. He thought he'd misheard and thought it should be asking for forgiveness. Unexpectedly, this person really wanted him to atone for his sins. As expected, it was the legendary flower of death. "I'll apologize to Dao friend. I'll take my leave now." His palm was shrinking rapidly and was about to disappear from this place. However, a rustling sound could be heard as the blue spider lilies bloomed. The mist was so hazy that even the sun in the sky was reflected in an azure color. The dense blue mist covered this place and imprisoned that hand. "Come out, come out!" In the outer realms, the heaven illuminator, Anshing, forcefully pulled back that hand. He felt rather resentful because this was like trying to catch a fish with his hand, only to be bitten by an old turtle that wouldn't let go no matter what. "Dao friend, we can talk things out. Can you allow me to pull my hand back first?" Anshing lowered his stance. The heaven illuminators in the surroundings were speechless. Then, they reacted at the same time, and that was to retreat with a whooshing sound. They didn't want to get involved in this mess. The blue spider lilies below swayed but didn't respond. They locked onto Anshing so that he couldn't pull his hand away. What was more terrifying was that a portion of his soul energy was imprisoned in that arm. If it was flesh and blood, Anshing could just abandon it. It was embarrassing, so be it. However, the loss of his soul was much more serious. It was equivalent to being heavily injured. "When I was exploring the ruins, I found a furnace of golden 9 revolutions pills. Although I've consumed most of them, I still have some left. I'll give it to you as a greeting gift. I welcome Dao friend to discuss the Dao again next time. Nice to meet you." The spider lily spoke, putting on an extremely courteous appearance. With a whoosh, Anshing retracted his palm with a stiff smile on his face. If this was anyone else, he would definitely not hesitate to fight. However, this was the legendary resurrection lily. This old demon was infamous back then, and not many people dared to provoke him. It was reported that before he died, he dragged many of his enemies along with him. This was a ruthless fellow who even dared to blow up his own body when he went crazy. Who would have thought that this old devil was still alive? Moreover, it seemed that he had taken root on Earth. Not many people dared to fight him to the death. It was said that the descendants of the chaotic godfiends from the broken universe had fought against the red spider lily, but they were all killed by him. How unlucky! Anshing muttered to himself. He would rather suffer a door plank than become enemies with this old devil. That was because he was confident that he should be able to survive a door plank from that woman as long as he didn't continue to suffer. However, he definitely wouldn't have a good ending if he got entangled with this resurrection lily. He wasn't called the flower of death for nothing. "Dao friend, farewell here. I'm leaving." Anshing turned around and ran away. He really didn't have the face to stay any longer. Nearby, an acquaintance at the Heaven Illuminator realm jostled him and said, "Old Un, you're leaving now? Didn't you originally want to vent your anger here?" Life is so beautiful, yet you guys are so violent. Your realm is too low and you don't understand the true essence. I'm leaving. There's still hope, longing, poetry, and distance in this world. I'm leaving." He ran away and disappeared in an instant. Everyone was speechless. In reality, the war on Earth had completely ended. The other powerhouses had also fled, so there was no need to stay any longer. A random slap on the desert could produce a resurrection lily. If he were to slap Mount Tai or punch Mount Longhu, who knew what other things would jump out? The waters on Earth were too deep, and it made one's hair stand on end. Of course, they believed in their hearts that there shouldn't be other monsters recuperating on Earth. There couldn't be so many passers-by. However, the people they found in front of them were enough to make them apprehensive. They'd had enough. They couldn't fight here anymore. A planet with 4 heaven illuminators overseeing it. What kind of concept was this? They couldn't even compare to the deity race, the last of the 10 great. At the very least, the great deity would be killed in a one-on-one fight. Since they couldn't conquer Earth in one battle, it was better to run. They were also people with root. If they were blocked by someone or their descendants were killed, their mother planet definitely wouldn't be able to hold on. At this moment, the starry sky was in an uproar. Every platform was like boiling water in a copper cauldron, clamoring and clamoring. Everyone was shocked. A planet with 4 heaven illuminators. Regardless of whether it was a native planet or not, there were indeed 4 such fierce people living there. Who would dare to be unconvinced? If anyone is unconvinced, fight them if you have the gut. Didn't you see that old man who likes poetry and distance? He immediately ran away after seeing the spider lilies. Earth has really risen. If they're given time, they'll enter the 10 greats. Even some old monsters were sighing. No one had expected that a 4th powerhouse would jump out from that ancient planet. Originally, the situation was about to calm down, but after Yao Yao's grandfather and the mysterious woman, another ruthless person appeared. This made all the old fellows speechless. At this moment, everyone was paying attention to how high Earth's ranking could soar this time. We've decided to raise Earth's ranking. We unanimously feel that it can be ranked between the 10th and 13th place at the very least. The Black Blood Arena made such an adjustment. We believe that Earth can perhaps return to the 11th or even the 10th place. Of course, the worst it can be is the 12th place. The Wormhole Express Company also made adjustments. However, many evolvers from various races in the universe didn't approve of it. Ever since the 4th powerhouse appeared on Earth, people felt that the waters were too deep and couldn't be seen through at a glance. Many people believed that the deity race was done for and could be completely replaced by Earth. At the very least, their high-end combat power had been swept away. Everyone, we're taking a long-term view and measuring from a strategic height of sustainable development, someone from the Black Blood platform explained. They believed that among the 4 powerhouses on Earth, only the Sage Master was reliable. As for the other 3, some were deranged, and some were just passers-by who could disappear at any time. In addition, in the long run, Earth wouldn't have a suitable successor for a very long time. And the deity race and the netherworld race had deep foundations. Perhaps it wouldn't be long before a new heaven illuminator would appear. In addition, the deity race's ultimate weapon had flown away and entered the primal chaos. There might be the legendary deity palace there, and it would be unimaginable if 1 or 2 mysterious powerhouses walked out. The Wormhole Express Company also had this kind of explanation. In the long run, the deity race and the netherworld race would still rise with great potential. Before this, some people were still worried that the people at the top of the pyramid of the 2 races would be eliminated and that they would be divided up by other major powers. But since the deity blade flew into the primal chaos, everyone became fearful. There was a legend since ancient times that the ancestors of the deity race came from the broken universe in the primal chaos. Now it seemed that it was most likely true. As long as the deity race's mother planet is still there and hasn't been conquered, they can still rise and become the universe's overlord. The deity breathing technique isn't just for show. Its power is boundless and can even be ranked in the top 6 of this universe. The race's decline back then was related to the battle in the chaotic Divine Sea, said the Wormhole Express Company's spokesperson. In reality, Uncle Ming and the others were on a killing spree while they were grading. They attacked powerfully and swept through the mother planets of several major races, drenched in blood. The outside world didn't know because the interstellar network had been cut off. The deity race's mother planet was very special. Even a golden arhat would find it difficult to fly here, but it wasn't a problem for a saint. This planet was too powerful. It was densely covered in order runes, and it was extremely suppressive to evolvers. Of course, this was also a powerful form of tempering for cultivation. This was also one of the reasons why the deity race was so powerful. At this moment, in the largest divine city on the deity race's mother planet, battle cries shook the heavens. A group of old saints had gone crazy, and all kinds of saint weapons were flying about, blasting one palace after another. Without a doubt, there were domain runes here, and there were rules and order. It was abnormally terrifying. However, Uncle Ming had made ample preparations. He had met the Sage Master and brought with him a huge amount of divine magnets the Sage Master had provided him. They were all ready-made domains. Following Uncle Ming's deployment, the domain shocked the heavens. It covered the front and paralyzed the deity race's divine city. Otherwise, even a large group of saints wouldn't necessarily be able to conquer this place. Even without the great deity overseeing things and losing their sect-guarding weapons, this wasn't a place saints could break through. But now, everything had been rewritten. The domain that the Sage Master had left behind for Uncle Ming was extremely powerful. It was specially carved in advance to deal with the deity race. Over the endless years, there wasn't a moment when the Sage Master didn't want to take revenge. He wanted to kill his way into the deity race and the Netherworld race's lands. As such, he had thoroughly studied their sect-protecting formations. Now it was time to reap the rewards. A group of old saints were like tigers entering a flock of sheep as they massacred the deity race. "Little brat, I've really found you. Aren't you arrogant? Relying on your status as a direct descendant of the deity race, you wanted to take my grandson as your servant. If he resisted even a little, you crippled him. Today I'll destroy you, little brat." In a public square, an old man grabbed a young expert from the deity race with one hand. With a pfft sound, he directly crushed him to death. Still not enough. There were 5 or 6 of you little brats at the time. All of you have to die. This old saint was searching. Another old man roared, "Old bastard from the deity race, why are you running? Hand over your life and accept your death. Back then, you brought people to send me into the universe's black prison just because of a quarrel. How tyrannical are you? Now that your grandfather has escaped, get your ass over here." There were many experts from the deity race, but today there were even more old saints than them. Apart from the people Uncle Ming had released from the universe's black prison, many experts were calling for their friends. There were too many people they brought. Of course, the most important thing was that they had cooperated with the universe's black market and invited a group of black-hearted and merciless old fellows. This group of people prioritized benefits above all else. Now that the great deity god was dead and the deity blade had escaped into the primal chaos, what else did they have to be afraid of? They simply viewed the deity race as a delicious piece of fat meat. Kill. Don't let a saint escape. The deity race is about to be annihilated. Brothers, the rewards are right in front of you. Put in more effort to kill. Shouts of killing shook the heavens on the deity race's mother planet. The race's divine city had been destroyed in the battle. Heavens, the heavens want to destroy our deity race. How can it be like this? An old saint roared. He was seething with anger and smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. He was resentful and indignant. However, this was useless. A group of saints had joined hands and all of them were ruthless. No one was soft-hearted and they were all ruthless. The heavens are unfair. Our deity race was born with the great fortune of heaven and earth. How can we fall into such a state? An old antique roared. He was seething with anger as he fought Uncle Ming and the others with all his might. He roared, "Evil survivor, Chong Ming, you deserve to die. You actually led people to attack us. I want you to die too. Stop dreaming. I, your grandfather, am here to exterminate you," Uncle Ming shouted. He quietly threw the heavenly umbrella he had borrowed from Lady Shi over. Boom! A bloody mist burst open as one of the deity race's legendary figures was smashed to pieces. Chapter 747. Uncle Ming thought about his era and how his old brothers who had gone through life and death with him were all gone. He couldn't help but shed silent tears and felt suffocated. Almost everyone had died. They weren't at the end of their lifespans but were killed by the deity race, the Netherworld race, and the Shilin clan. The races that were on good terms with Earth in the past belonged to the Earth Alliance. As the defeated side, they were massacred along with Earth. Not long ago, there was an auction where Fire Bear skin and Black Tiger bones were being auctioned. The Fire Bear Saint and the Black Tiger Saint were Uncle Ming's good friends. It was fine if they were killed back then, but they couldn't even rest in peace after their death. They were humiliated. The people from the deity race and the Netherworld race threatened to make Fire Bear skin boots and grind Black Tiger bone powder to refine their bodies. They were truly arrogant. At that time, Uncle Ming swore that he would massacre the two races. Now, he had really waited for this day. Kill! Uncle Ming's hair was disheveled as he specifically picked the ancient saints to attack. He searched for the executioners of the past and started a massacre. Chong Ming, it's you. It's actually you. The stray dog from back then, the fish that escaped the net, you actually dared to destroy the foundation of my race. How hateful! Kill! An old fellow from the deity race roared. His eyes were red as he held a scarlet spear dripping with blood. This was the famous divine blood dripping spear. This person had already become a saint during the ancient war and could be considered a famous person with glorious military accomplishments. Back then, one of Uncle Ming's quasi-saint sworn brothers had died in his hands. The spear had pierced through his forehead and he was killed on a famed mountain on Earth. Old man, you still have the gall to be mad? Why didn't you say that your hands were bloody and your crimes were monstrous back then? Uncle Ming's eyes were also scarlet and filled with killing intent. Divine blood dripping spear, I finally see it again today. Kill! Uncle Ming roared and pounced over. Not only had this person killed his quasi-saint brother, but he had also launched a sneak attack and annihilated everyone in the youth training camp that the higher-ups of Earth had secretly set up on a certain planet. He originally wanted to leave a seed of hope there, but in the end, he was seen through and was massacred. This made Uncle Ming's heart ache every time he thought about it. Earth's survivors die. This saint brandished the divine spear dripping with blood. He found it hard to accept that the lofty deity race had actually been breached and his clansmen were being massacred. This was someone they had defeated in the past, a survivor of a destroyed planet. In the end, they actually came knocking on their door like this one day. He was furious. The deity race had always been high and mighty. They wouldn't think about those races that they had exterminated. At this moment, some people were still thinking about the deity race's inviolable glory. Now, the survivors had actually come to counterattack. They couldn't be forgiven and accepted. You bastard! Uncle Ming gritted his teeth and waved the heavenly umbrella, which collided with the blood-dripping holy spear. Immediately, yang energy gushed out. With a kacha sound, the legendary holy artifact, the well-known dripping blood holy spear cracked apart. Then, half of it exploded, unable to stop the heavenly law umbrella. Puff. In the following battle, half of the saint's body was sliced off by Uncle Ming's heavenly umbrella, and blood flowed profusely. "Ah!" he screamed. Originally, this saint had expected that he would have few opponents in the same realm because he had the divine dripping blood spear, but the result was so miserable. Puff. Uncle Ming flew over and used the heavenly umbrella to blast the man into two. He descended from the sky and stomped on the man's caved-in chest. He said through clenched teeth, "Old man, keep being arrogant. Do you think the lives of deity races people are that valuable? Are they different from us? Open your eyes and take a look. The methods that were used on the heads of other races in the past have been reflected on your own race today." Murderous shouts shook the sky all around. The group of people Uncle Ming had invited weren't merciful and lenient people. When they encountered a hard bone, the group immediately went up and ganged up on them. There was no other reason. These people were either people who had escaped from the black prison or ruthless stubble invited from the universe's black market. They were like sharks that had smelled blood and had gone crazy from killing. "Ah, my race's fortune is long and lasting. We have the protection of a true deity. How can we be exterminated like this? This person couldn't accept this." His eyes were densely bloodshot. Puff. Uncle Ming exploded him with a kick and caused him to die a violent death. Then, he shook the heavenly law umbrella and shattered his spirit, not giving him a chance to rise from the ashes. Just like that, the group of people charged and clashed with the deity race's old fellows. All of them started a massacre because the benefits of attacking the deity race were too great. There were millions of years of accumulation here, and all kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures were more than the dozens or hundreds of mother planets of the various races added together. "Old man, I've finally caught up to you. Back then, you stole my lover and wanted to kill me, forcing me to flee to the ends of the world. I was originally the successor of a race, but I could only fall into the universe's black market and not see the light. I'll kill you and exterminate your race." In the distance, another old man went crazy and fought a bloody battle with the deity race's saint. One could imagine how much debt the deity race owed to the outside world back then. They were too hated because the deity race was truly powerful and their people acted without the slightest scruple. Today they finally broke out completely. Many old fellows roared and came to seek revenge. This was also the reason why Uncle Ming could invite a large number of experts with a single call. The main reason was that the deity race had committed too many sins. Who knew how many people were gnashing their teeth at them? Now that the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity had arrived, this group of people naturally followed them with red eyes. "Old friend, I'll help you!" Someone shouted and went to help the roaring old saint just now. That was because the deity race's people were indeed powerful enough. They possessed the deity breathing technique and were more powerful than ordinary saints. However, no matter how powerful they were, they couldn't fight against so many people. Moreover, the people who came to fight today were all ruthless fellows, and there were also people with extraordinary strength. So much so that there were more than one or two peerless saints. Boom! Another saint from the deity race was blown up, and a rain of blood filled the sky. His spirit let out a mournful scream. The deity race was trembling on this day. They couldn't accept this. What kind of scene was this? All the experts of the clan were being hunted down and killed one after another. As for those at the golden body realm of the deity race, they simply didn't have the qualifications to make a move. Once they were encountered, they would all be smacked to death. It was simply too miserable. In the end, the deity race's divine city flowed with blood. This was their #1 city, and also the location of their foundation. Everyone who lived there was a direct line of descent. But today, it was dark and bloody for them. The large-scale protective domains had failed, and were all paralyzed by the divine magnetic stones brought by Uncle Ming. On this day, the deity race's direct line of descent suffered heavy losses. One palace hall after another exploded, and one ritual ground after another disintegrated. It was called a divine city, but this huge city was boundless. There were many beautiful mountain peaks inside, and experts lived there. But now, the mountains and rivers were covered in blood. This old man's heart aches. My deity race has actually fallen to this state. Ah! Another old fellow roared angrily with disheveled hair. He had just come out of seclusion when he killed an expert from the universe's black market. That was because this was a top-notch saint. He was too powerful, and ordinary people simply weren't his match. This old man swears that I'll destroy all of you. Your family and your race will all pay a bloody price. No one has ever dared to humiliate my deity race like this. In the past, you were all our prey. Chongming, where are you? Come and die. He roared. He was crazy and attacked in a frenzy. Kill him. At this moment, the top experts from the universe's black market and the black prison who had escaped roared loudly and charged over together. There were also top-notch experts among Uncle Ming's group. At the same time, Uncle Ming held the heavenly umbrella and charged over with red eyes. He directly attacked. With this umbrella, he wasn't afraid at all. Boom, boom, boom. A beautiful purple mountain peak exploded amidst the intense battle. The heaven and earth energy here was shockingly dense. It was a holy land for cultivation, but it had been destroyed. This planet was special. Order runes and domains were densely covered in all areas. Even if they were suppressed and paralyzed, the earth and rocks were still as hard as divine iron. Otherwise, it would have been even more tragic. This top-notch saint's chest was pierced by a palm and half of his body was swept away by Uncle Ming's heavenly umbrella. Immediately, he was incomparably mournful. He roared crazily and fought to the death. Boom! In the end, he self-detonated. He was quite courageous and caused several saints nearby to be seriously injured. Fortunately, Uncle Ming opened the heavenly umbrella and dissolved most of the energy. Brothers, there's a holy spring here. It's a holy land for healing. Those who are injured, come quickly, shouted Uncle Ming. There's a medicine garden here with many mutant fruits. Everyone has a share. In the end, the medicine garden was bare in the blink of an eye. This group of saints passing through was even more terrifying than a swarm of locusts. However, there was no need to fight over it. There was no need for internal conflict. That was because there were too many medicine gardens on the deity race's mother planet. The holy land for cultivation was densely packed, and everyone had a share. Retreat into the ancestral city. Don't delay. Don't fight them to the death. An elder from the deity race shouted hoarsely. His heart was dripping blood. Today was too miserable. If this went on, the deity race would be exterminated. Lead the direct descendants and retreat. You're not allowed to fight with your lives on the line. As long as there's life, there's hope. Another elder roared. He clenched his fists in hatred. Reality was cruel. When the deity race was at its peak, every race came to worship them. But now that the great deity was dead, the race had lost their sect-guarding treasure and had completely declined. Today they had become prey and were massacred by a group of crazy old saints. If this continued, the deity race's direct descendants would be completely annihilated. The ancestral city of the deity race was within the number 1 city. It could be considered a city within a city. It wasn't very big, but it was sturdy and immortal. The protective domain here wasn't paralyzed and was mysterious and unfathomable. Quickly, run back. An elder on top of the city gate roared. He stared ahead and saw one of his grandchildren, a golden Arhat genius. In the end, a saint stomped him into a bloody pulp. Ah! I'll fight you to the death! He roared. His eyes were about to split open as he charged out. Foolish! Don't be impulsive! Someone beside him pulled him back. A legendary elder from the deity race growled, "Oh no, the deity palace has been captured. That's a place for their descendants to comprehend the Tao. There are many battle techniques and ultimate arts inscribed there. It's about to fall into the enemy's hands. Today's calamity had come too suddenly. They weren't prepared at all. They didn't have time to destroy the various martial arts halls and medicinal gardens. It was equivalent to giving aid to the enemy. Go, smash the ancestral city's altar and take out the deity incense. Burn it. An elder from the deity race roared. Will it work? Someone was bewildered. Whether it's useful or not, do it for me. What if we can contact the deity palace in the primal chaos? Perhaps our race won't be completely annihilated. Otherwise, the deity race will cease to exist from now on. Chapter 748. The deity race's largest city, the ancestral city, was filled with cries. This was a calamity they had never experienced before. The altar at the center of the city had been smashed open, and a saint carefully took out a stone box from within. There were patterns carved on it, and there were even traces of a knife carved on it. Quickly, open it and light it up, a top-notch saint urged. The current situation was critical. The ancestral city's domain was very powerful, and was said to be able to block the attacks of heaven illuminators. But now, a calamity was upon them, and no one knew what would happen. If by any chance an old monster from the 10 Greats came to fish in troubled waters, something big would definitely happen. A yellowish-brown stick of incense was taken out. It wasn't very special. It was about a foot long and had been burned before. It could only be considered a remnant. Worship the ancestors and summon the deity. A famous guest shouted and personally presided over the ceremony. At this point, they had no other choice but to try everything in a desperate situation. Legend had it that the deity race's ancestors came from the primal chaos. This was only their second hometown. The race's true ancestral land was incomparably powerful and prosperous, with countless experts. In that primal chaos, there was a supreme deity palace overseen by a true deity overlooking all living things. Relatively speaking, the deity race's ancestor was only an outstanding disciple from the primal chaos. He trained in this starry sky and finally took root here, establishing this clan. According to legend, the broken universe in the primal chaos was boundless and dozens of times larger than this universe. Moreover, it was filled with surging yang qi, which was scorching hot to the people here. Additionally, there were primal chaos demons, giant beasts from the time of the heavens, and all kinds of dangerous creatures roaming the ruins of the broken universe. It was incomparably dangerous to walk in the primal chaos. Ordinary people simply couldn't establish a foothold there. In that broken universe filled with primal chaos, the most powerful orthodoxies resided. There were living beings who regarded themselves as God. Those great powers all had their own domains, such as the primal chaos demon palace, the Mitua temple, and the banished immortal cave. All of them were ruthless characters and transcendent powers. If a heaven illuminator entered the primal chaos rashly, he might die 9 times out of 10. More than half of those who went in all these years had died. These were all rumors in this universe. Even the deity race themselves didn't believe that their ancestor was a descendant of some transcendent power. However, the elders of the clan had indeed said this before. Now they had no choice but to believe it. They lit up this deity incense. It was said that this incense was as old as the deity blade, and it was brought out from the deity palace in the primal chaos. If the clan encountered a great calamity and was in a life and death situation, they could ignite it and perhaps save their lives. Smoke rose in spirals. There was no smell at all because it was not real smoke at all. It was a type of energy, a type of aura that caused all the saints present to tremble. In the end, they all knelt down. We pay our respects to the primogenitor. We beseech the deities of the heavenly deity palace to descend and save our clan from this calamity. Your descendants are going to be exterminated. An old sage trembled as he prayed. The others also started to speak up. In the end, this kind of energy oscillation turned into order runes that shocked everyone. Even the peak-level saints were suppressed to the point where they couldn't move. They knelt on the ground, their souls trembling. Chi. In the end, a small half of this stick of incense was burned in an instant. It was too fast, and then it went out. The burned part turned into a dazzling golden light. It broke through the domain's light screen, tore apart the sky, and penetrated into the cosmos. Then, it rushed into the primal chaos. This was a terrifying order rune. It pierced through the starry sea and opened up its own wormhole. Thus, it broke away from the restraints of the galaxy and truly left this cosmos. Kill! Exterminate the deity race. Over the years, they've massacred at least 80 planets, if not 100. The number of races they've exterminated is even more uncountable. In order to obtain divine beast martial arts, for example, to obtain the Kuan-Pung true form diagram, and so on, they directly started a massacre when they passed by our planet just to silence us. That's because we inadvertently found out their objective. A group of old saints went crazy and attacked the ancestral city. None of them were kind people. Many of them were ruthless characters. In a moment, some people threw out all kinds of terrifying secret treasures and used all kinds of method. In addition, some people joined hands to summon stars from beyond the heavens. For a moment, a world-destroying scene erupted. Those stars were refined and continuously condensed, but their speed didn't decrease. They bombarded the ancestral city of the deity race. There was a huge explosion here. Unfortunately, this planet was too special. Even if the domains of the giant city were paralyzed, there was still a terrifying order power in the sky and within the ancestral city. In the end, those stars were refined, crushed, and directly annihilated. To many races, this was a world-destroying battle. If it were any other race, they would have been annihilated hundreds of times, but it wouldn't work here. Uncle Ming shouted, "Brothers, the situation isn't right." Just now, a beam of light flew out from the deity race's ancestral city and entered the cosmos. This must be a distress signal. We have to leave. Retreat just like that? Many people weren't resigned to this. Some people's hostility toward the deity race surpassed Uncle Ming's. Similarly, there was a group of saints whose races had been exterminated here. They couldn't wait to destroy the ancestral city and start a massacre here. There were also some ruthless people, such as those from the cosmos black market. For the sake of the deity race's treasury, they had practically gone crazy and killed with more vigor than anyone else. Now, they really weren't willing to retreat. There were even some experts with wild ambitions who wanted to seize the deity race's breathing technique and walk on the path of transcendence. However, they couldn't destroy the deity race's ancestral city despite their constant attack. You lowly commoners of a low-level planet. You were once defeated by us. Back then, you were nothing more than our hunting targets. Sooner or later, we'll descend upon your ancestral land and wipe you all out. An old woman howled in the ancestral city. Her eyes were about to split open because she saw the corpses of her grandchildren being trampled to death. None of them could escape into the ancestral city. Boom. What responded to her was a dozen or so saint-level amethyst heavenly thunder crystals. They struck the protective barrier above the city gate and caused it to become incomparably dazzling. Energy surged as the heavenly thunder continuously attacked the domain runes spreading out from the ancestral city. Deity race, you're like grasshoppers at the end of autumn. You won't be able to live for more than a few days, yet you still want to rise up and order the world around? Dream on. Even if we can't conquer the ancestral city today, someone else will come to open it in the future. Just wait for your race to be exterminated. Someone shouted coldly and bloodthirstily. At the same time, several hundred of the surviving descendants of the deity race were slapped to death. A group of people in the ancestral city roared. At the same time, an old saint from the deity race directly slapped the old woman, causing her to scream miserably as her teeth fell out. "You still dare to fart at such a juncture? There are still our disciples and many of our clansmen outside the city. Do you King want to die?" The old saint wasn't satisfied and kicked the quasi-saint old woman away, breaking her bones and tendons. She almost died here. Boom. Outside the city, a group of people attacked fiercely but to no avail. Uncle Ming said, "Everyone, we really should leave. Not to mention the reinforcements the deity race has invited, the 10 greats might also make a trip after the news of this place is leaked. They might even come with sect-guarding weapons to loot us. At that time, we might be betrayed." This group of people didn't know that the deity race was summoning their clansmen from the deity palace in the primal chaos. However, they knew that if the 10 greats were to learn of the situation here, they might really bring their ultimate weapons to blast this place open and take advantage of the situation. And at that time, their situation would be very bad. Perhaps they would be killed for a legitimate reason. The 10 greats had stood tall for so many years, but none of them were pure lotuses. Regardless of whether they appeared benevolent or ruthless, there was always the smell of blood behind them. "Let's go. According to the agreement, we'll go to the Shilin clan and the spirit race and help our old brothers loot there," Uncle Ming called. Of course, this group of old saints really did their best to loot before leaving. Everywhere they went, not even a blade of grass grew. The deity race's ancestral planet had many famous mountains and great rivers. Before long, all the medicinal fields were bare. Someone cried out in surprise that they had dug up divine medicines. Not all of the divine medicines and divine trees were in the ancestral city. Some of the holy springs in some famous mountains had been dug up. That kind of spiritual liquid could nourish the saints' bodies and help them cultivate. In the end, many saints obtained the holy pond and were overjoyed. Uncle Ming's harvest was also great. He copied down the deity palace's martial arts with others and then snatched a divine medicine. Without saying anything, he ate it on the spot. In fact, everyone did the same. They ate the divine medicine immediately to avoid being targeted by others and causing internal strife and bloody battles. However, divine medicines were still rare resources. Even the powerful deity race didn't have many of them, especially those scattered outside the ancestral city. There were only 4 of them, and they were divided among the people. But the others were also very satisfied. There were all kinds of saint-level refining materials, precious liquids from the holy pond that could help them advance, and secret arts from the martial arts hall. Everyone was smiling. Everyone had smiles on their faces. The harvest was too great. Uncle Ming wasn't stingy and shared the deity palace's secret arts with others. The others also took out the scriptures they had found and put them together for everyone. They even pieced together a part of the deity race's breathing technique. Unfortunately, they only reached the golden body level and didn't have anything above the saint level. This was the foundation of the deity race's religion and their greatest secret. The ultimate breathing technique was in the ancestral city. But this was enough. They found many other saint-level martial arts from the stone walls and cave residences in the famous mountains and great rivers. After so many years, the deity race had destroyed too many races. They couldn't cultivate all kinds of secret art. Some of the animal skin books on display in the cave residences were already buried in dust. Haha, I'm content. The harvest is too great. I won't need to look for resources for thousands of years. It's enough for my cultivation. Not bad, the deity race's breathing technique has never been spread outside. Now we've actually obtained a part of it. Although it's not suitable for us, it's a priceless scripture for our descendants. It can be called a peerless heavenly book and can build the strongest foundation. Let's go and support our brothers from the Shilin and Spirit race. After that, the group of people all ran away. They stepped into the deity race's large-scale domain that could open up wormholes and disappeared together. Behind them, there were ruins and flowing blood. It wasn't just the number one city that had been destroyed. Other important cities had also been destroyed. In the end, Uncle Ming was too soft-hearted and didn't slaughter those ordinary people. However, he didn't show mercy to the deity race's evolvers who dared to resist, especially the direct descendants. He swept through them one after another. Unfortunately, more than half of the deity race's direct descendants had rushed into the ancestral city and escaped the calamity. Before leaving, Uncle Ming shouted, "Deity race, the rest of you struggle at death's door. Leave this place for our descendant. In the future, come here to hunt when you have nothing to do. From now on, this place will be our descendants' hunting ground." At this moment, in the ancestral city, the deity race's survivors were ashen. They were mad with hatred and their lungs were about to explode. They couldn't swallow this anger. For so many years, they had always been the ones hunting the other races. Could it be that everything was going to be rewritten from now on? Boom. The Shilin planet was a powerful vital star with order runes suppressing it. Here, it was difficult for people of lower realms to fly. Today, it was very terrifying. The battle shook the heavens, and the race was beaten back step by step. Blood flowed like rivers because there were 2 or 3 top-notch saints leading them. When Uncle Ming and the others arrived, the battle here was about to end. At the last moment, the number 9 under the starry skies had escaped. He was very sensitive and knew that the battle on Earth had ended. He was afraid that the Sage Master would come to settle accounts with him. His escape meant that the battle here had come to an end. In truth, the saints of the Shilin clan had all led a large number of direct descendants to escape and abandon this place. "We've already opened up a second homeland. We've long since made preparations. Don't be afraid." An old saint of the Shilin clan spoke coldly, telling the direct descendants on a saint-grade ship not to panic. On this day, the Shilin clan abandoned this planet and fled. The saints who attacked here had gained a lot, but it couldn't compare to the group who attacked the deity race's mother planet. The Shilin planet was bleeding. All the famed mountains, great rivers, and the heavenly grottos within the giant city had been looted clean. Not a single medicinal herb was left. "Everyone, attack the spirit race," Uncle Ming called. The group immediately turned to attack the spirit race. They didn't show any mercy here, but in the end everyone retreated in fright. That was because the spirit race had retreated to their ancestral city to offer sacrifices and summon the ancient ancestor. Although the spirit ancestor was dead, the race still had a heaven illuminator who was still alive. That was the terrifying existence who had wielded the divine blood banner back then. Back then, the 10 greats were apprehensive of him. They joined hands to seize his weapon and forcefully dismantled it, injuring him severely and almost destroying his soul. All these years, he had been in a state of suspended animation. Outsiders didn't know which ancient land in the universe he was hibernating in. He didn't dare stay in the race for fear of being targeted by the 10 greats. Their sacrificial rites weren't concealed. Even outsiders could hear them clearly and knew what they wanted to do. Who wouldn't be worried? Who wouldn't be afraid? In any case, they had already looted this place and moved everything that could be moved away. Everyone decisively retreated and didn't attack their ancestral city. The same was true for the machine race. They actually had an old ancestor called the primitive Vajra, but he had decayed. His body had been divided into 5 parts and was buried in the universe's 5 mysterious gold mines, waiting to be reborn. On this day, the machine race encountered a destructive attack. They frantically summoned the primitive Vajra and wanted him to return. How come each of these races is more extraordinary than the other? They actually all have this kind of trump card. After the group of saints finished looting, they decisively fled. They had already felt that something was wrong. After they left, a broken metal hand flew over and slapped the void. Unfortunately, its primordial spirit hadn't returned. Only one hand was pressing down. "Everyone, there's still one place we haven't gone to, and that's the Netherworld race." Unfortunately, their old ancestor is still alive. But I think there's still a chance. The Netherworld race's old ancestor is on Earth. Take advantage of the time difference and do something big. Earlier, they hadn't attacked the Netherworld race because they were worried about their old ancestor. Now they wanted to take a risk. Don't be afraid. The Sage Master is here with the demonic ancestor's cauldron. Let's go. Along the way, Uncle Ming revealed a joyous expression. He had contacted the Sage Master and learned of the latest situation. Kill. In the end, several groups of people gathered together and descended on a planet shrouded in black mist. They began a massacre, and now they were much stronger than the single allied army from before. That was because these groups of people together were enough. Boom. The heavens fell and the earth split. Even though some of the Netherworld race's ancient cities were extremely sturdy, they were blasted apart immediately. This battle was very intense at first, but later on, there was no more suspense. Everyone attacked in a frenzy, and the corpses of the Netherworld race's experts were strewn across the ground. There were countless casualties. How dare you! The Netherworld race's old ancestor had returned. He had suffered a great loss on Earth, and his mount, the Bone Dragon, had died. He hadn't expected to discover an abnormality from afar as soon as he rushed back to his own star domain. Boom! However, what awaited him was a large cauldron. It directly smashed out of the void and almost smashed the Netherworld race's old ancestor into pieces. One of his arms exploded on the spot. Buzz. Next, the stars lined up and formed a domain, blocking his path forward. Yi-Chun, you dare to intercept me? The Netherworld race's old monster was both shocked and furious. He felt that he had gone too far. He had suffered a great loss outside of Earth, and now he was being chased here. Everyone, come quickly. Let's destroy the remnants of this Earth together. He roared and transmitted his voice, wanting to gather help. Kill! On the Netherworld race's mother planet, blood flowed like a river, and battle cries shook the heavens. It was incomparably bitter. Then, everyone looted wantonly and almost emptied the place. Not long after, the Sage Master warned them to leave immediately because he was worried that other heaven illuminators would rush over. If they were blocked, everyone would be in danger. Old brothers, let's go. Welcome to Earth as a guest, shouted Uncle Ming. The group of people ran away, each faster than the other. The Netherworld race was emptied. Ah! The Netherworld race's old ancestor screamed in outer space. He was trapped here and couldn't move. At the same time, his life was in danger. However, the Sage Master sensed danger. The nearest heaven illuminator was about to arrive. He was a bit regretful that he couldn't kill the Netherworld race's old ancestor. He could only stay here and block the two people. Otherwise, many of the saints who participated in the operation today would die. On this day, Uncle Ming and the others retreated in victory. On Earth, Uncle Ming was smiling and his mouth hadn't closed. At this moment, he had been waiting for the press conference outside of the starry sky. Unfortunately, the interstellar network of the deity race, spirit race, and machine race had been cut off. At present, the outside world actually didn't know and hadn't spread. Uncle Ming, what are you going to say in a while? Asked Chu Feng. Uncle Ming expressed that he would take responsibility for the events this time. Chu Feng was speechless. This was simply becoming Earth's unique style. Chapter 749. Yi-Chun, after the battle on Earth came to an end, all of us reached a tacit understanding to stop fighting. Yet, you still dare to come and kill me. Are you challenging all of us? Heaven illuminators are protecting the order of the universe one after another. Do you want to become enemies with all of us? The Netherworld race's old ancestors' roar shook the starry skies. All the top-notch characters were alarmed. His aura was too terrifying. Some of the saints passing by were shaken by the energy aura until their blood surged and they coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. This was the result even from an extremely far distance. It could be predicted that even saints would explode if they were near him. What's going on? Has this old monster gone mad? Many people were shocked. They still didn't know about the Netherworld race's massacre. Boom! The huge cauldron soared through the sky and the stars exploded. The Netherworld race's old ancestor was covered in blood and his hair was disheveled. He was in an extremely sorry state. The battle in the starry skies was still ongoing, but it was about to come to an end. The Sage Master intercepted the Netherworld race's old ancestor and successfully obstructed him. He couldn't return to his clan and could only watch helplessly as the Mother Planet was massacred. If it wasn't for the timely arrival of another Heaven Illuminator, the Netherworld race's old ancestor would have been in danger and might have been killed here. Chun, you're challenging the order of the universe set by all the races. Do you want to make the entire Earth your enemy? The Netherworld race's old ancestor was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He clearly saw that the Mother Planet was in a mess. There were blood stains everywhere and countless of his clansmen were dead or injured. All the huge cities and famed mountains had been looted cleanly and the invaders had already successfully retreated. This was a great humiliation to him and an incomparable darkness to his clan. The Sage Master snorted and said, "Killing you is challenging the order of the universe? Who can you represent? Are you the order of the universe? Can you represent all the races under the starry skies? Furthermore, only you're allowed to go to Earth to strut around and kill us, but I'm not allowed to attack? You must remember that this will become the norm in the future. I'll come and kill you whenever I have nothing to do." The Netherworld race's old ancestor roared, "Chun, you're making the entire universe your enemy. You're restarting the war. Do you want to break the balance? If that's the case, I don't mind hunting down all life on Earth and blowing them up." Sacred Sovereign Chun shouted, "Are you threatening me? From today onwards I'll fight you to the death. I'll see who kills who. You want to protect this planet, right? Then I'll cripple it immediately." With a rumble, he directly summoned a planet. The stars were like dumplings falling into a pot, crashing towards the Netherworld race's mother planet. Ah! The Netherworld race's old ancestor's eyes almost popped out of their socket. He was completely anxious and struggled with all his might. In the end, he suffered another blow from the star-studded whip from the Sage Master within the domain and coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. Boom! 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 In the distance, planets were rotating one after another, flying toward the mother planet of the Netherworld race. This was even more dazzling than a meteor shower. It looked exceptionally majestic and terrifying. At this moment, a large hand reached out from the void. Other Heaven Illuminators had rushed over to stop the terrifying disaster that was the Netherworld race's mother planet from bombarding it. Of course, if this giant hand hadn't appeared, the Netherworld race's mother planet would have been able to stop most of them by relying on the Order runes intertwined on it. They wouldn't have been completely annihilated. But even so, the Netherworld race's old ancestor was quite frightened. The Sage Master said in a cold voice, "Remember, I hate being threatened. If you dare to personally kill my clan's disciples, I'll immediately destroy the hundreds of planets controlled by your Netherworld race. Not a single one will be left. You're going too far." The Netherworld race's old ancestor roared furiously. The Sage Master rebuked, "Going too far? I think it's because you guys have gotten used to being overbearing. In the battle back then, you guys bathed ancient Earth in blood. This debt has yet to be settled. Now you think that only you guys can attack others. Once others kill their way here, you feel humiliated. What a shameless logic." Boom! He brandished the star-studded whip and struck towards the Netherworld race's mother planet once again. In a split second, the 6 moons outside the planet where the Netherworld race resided all exploded, turning into brilliant flames in the outer realm. At the same time, when the star-studded whip fell, the Netherworld race's mother planet also suffered attacks. Mountains and rivers exploded, huge cities collapsed, and some powerful cave dwellings collapsed. There were even a large number of evolvers who died tragically. They didn't even have the chance to make a sound before turning into a bloody mist. "Stop right now!" the Netherworld race's old ancestor roared. His eyes were red from anxiety. Boom! The Sage Master didn't stop and continued brandishing the star-studded whip. Even though the Netherworld race's mother planet found people to set up endless domains, and even the planet's will was resisting, it still suffered heavy damage at the first moment. In just a moment, the mountains and rivers on the Netherworld planet collapsed and the cities disintegrated. The losses were too disastrous. "Stop, Ichen. Everything can be discussed. Stop right now!" the Netherworld race's old ancestor roared. At this moment, a total of 3 Heaven Illuminators rushed over. If they really made a move, it would be a threat to the Sage Master. Fortunately, he had the Demon Ancestor's cauldron in his hands. "Taoist Ichen, you can stop now," someone said. In the end, the battle here subsided. The Sage Master understood that it was unrealistic for the current Earth to resist the alliance of the many powerful races in the universe. He sighed softly. In the ancient war back then, the allies of Earth were all killed. Many stunning characters and their races could no longer be seen again. Otherwise, some of them would definitely have become Heaven Illuminators. He dragged his broken body to come back to life. In the end, he was still a Heaven Illuminator, let alone a few people who originally had hope. If it wasn't for the ancient war, it was truly unimaginable how strong the side belonging to Earth would be now. Now, Earth wasn't ready yet. They couldn't make the whole world their enemy, so this war could only stop. "Ah!" the Netherworld race's old ancestor roared and rushed into the distant planet. He saw blood everywhere. It was too tragic. At least half of the evolved cities and the cave residences of experts had been destroyed on this planet. The population had decreased sharply, and the losses were disastrous. He estimated that the Netherworld race's overall strength had decreased by at least 60%. "Ichen, you!" the Netherworld race's old ancestor was furious. He wanted to say some threatening words, but in the end, he opened his mouth and didn't say anything. Only the ominous glint in his eyes flourished. He swore that he would definitely go to that land of bones and think of a way to awaken that distant ancestor who had been asleep for countless years. He had to bring that person back to life, and he was merely an emissary guarding that land of bones. Now, he had already become an old ancestor. "Ichen, Tao friend, I think we should talk about the order of the universe. It's not good to start wars too frequently now. You should know that the dilapidated universe in the primal chaos isn't very peaceful. It's nurturing great fortunes, but at the same time, there's also a great crisis. When the time comes, it will have a profound impact on us here. We can't be chaotic now." "I'm not interested in listening." The Sage Master turned around and disappeared in an instant. His expression was cold. What order of the universe? It was just the rules and regulations set down by those with vested interests. The order before the ancient war on Earth wasn't like this. "Tao friend Ichen, are you rejecting our good intentions? Are you unwilling to let your mother planet integrate into this universe's system?" someone said coldly. The Netherworld race's old ancestor sneered and said, "Fellow Tao friends, you've seen it. They want to challenge and trample on the inherent rules of the universe. There's nothing more to say. We should join hands to suppress and kill them. If you're dissatisfied, you can come to Earth. I'll wait for you. If you want to fight, then fight." The Sage Master turned around with a cold smile and said, "But let me remind you that once the war starts, be prepared to attack at all costs. We have nothing left anyway. Which one of you doesn't control hundreds of vital planets and countless resource planets? If you want to start a war, then come." The Sage Master swaggered off, only leaving behind a silhouette of his back. He left a message saying that if they were dissatisfied, they could fight and that he would wait for them on Earth. In the starry sky, every race was shocked. The Sage Master was alone, yet he dared to block the Netherworld race's old ancestor. Moreover, it hadn't been long since the war outside Earth ended. For a moment, every part of the universe was shocked. Everyone realized that Earth had really risen. They were actually so proactive now that they dared to find trouble with the powerful race that was ranked 11th in the universe and wanted to kill their old ancestor. The more they thought about it, the more moved they became. Many old antiques sucked in a breath of cold air. However, they could only sigh. 4 heaven illuminators had appeared on a planet, and each one was more powerful than the last. These people were all masters who could fight many. They had killed their way to victory. This kind of lineup was definitely the standard of the top 10. Who wouldn't be afraid? Who wouldn't be in awe? At this moment, people still didn't know that Uncle Ming and the others had massacred the mother planets of the deity race, the spirit race, and the machine race. Only the news of the Netherworld race suffering an unexpected calamity had spread, but people mistakenly thought that it was the result of the Sage Master's actions. I dare say that if there were a few powerful saints on Earth, they would definitely be able to attack their former enemies. In addition to Yao Yao's resurrection and the rising demon King Chu of the younger generation, this is a terrifying power that the top 10 have to be vigilant against. Unfortunately, they're broken and lack the corresponding saint-level power. Otherwise, the deity race, the spirit race, and the Shilin clan would all be in danger. The group of old saints laughed but didn't say anything when they heard this kind of discussion in the universe. That was because many people had accepted Uncle Ming's invitation to temporarily come to Earth as guests. Of course, the main reason was to avoid the limelight. After all, the big case they had committed was too shocking. Yao Yao, quickly take the immortal medicine. I hope it's effective. I've been looking forward to the stars and the moon. It's fine if I can reduce my lifespan as long as I can resurrect you. Uncle Ming's eyes were filled with tears. He was Yao Yao's first teacher and had watched her grow up. They were as close as father and daughter. If Yao Yao had grown up from ancient times until today, she would have long illuminated the heavens and become an invincible existence. Back then, she was just that stunning and was known as the number 1 under the starry skies. She was publicly acknowledged by the whole world, and no one was unconvinced. Those who were unconvinced were all suppressed with a raise of her hand. What a pity! Every time Uncle Ming thought about it, he would wring his hands and sigh. He wanted to cry. The medicinal herbs needed for Yao Yao's resurrection were too astonishing. Ordinary divine medicines were simply ineffective. Only a combination of the myriad star grass, the 9 orifices tribulation flower, and a few other things that had only appeared in legends since ancient times could do it. At this moment, everyone was very nervous. They didn't know what medicinal herbs Yao Yao's grandfather had requested from the woman in the abyss of Kunlun were, and whether they could resurrect her. And the myriad star grass, said Chu Feng. He treated the myriad star physique as a great medicine. He had extracted all the blood medicine's essence in preparation for Yao Yao. At this moment, the originally restless starry skies, which were full of discussions, suddenly erupted. This was because someone had discovered that something was wrong with the deity race. When the race's allies went to visit, they were shocked to find that the mountains and rivers on the deity planet were dyed in blood. The number 1 giant city was in ruins, and the race's direct descendants had suffered countless casualties. The gates of the ancestral city were tightly shut. Oh God, the sky has been pierced! The deity race has been massacred. This is the most serious incident that has shaken the starry skies. Who did this? The people who went to visit their friends were overly frightened. They immediately turned around and ran, not daring to wade into the muddy waters. After the news spread, the galaxy boiled over. Countless people were shocked. They went there to find out what was going on. Not long after, the spirit race, the machine race, and the Shilin clan also spread shocking news. The mother planets of these races had been conquered. It was a tragic sight, and the rivers and mountains were dyed in blood. Everyone was dumbfounded. Who did this? It was too shocking. These races were all famous and powerful races in the cosmos. Their positions had never been shaken for so many years, but in the end, they had all suffered a great calamity in one day. People suspected that it was the top 10 who had taken action. The vast starry skies were in an uproar. The most serious cosmic earthquake had occurred. At this moment, some of the top 10 races in the cosmos were stunned. This was because someone was carrying their race's sect-guarding weapon and was about to set off. They had their eyes on a few big pieces of meat, but in the end, someone had taken action in advance? This won't do. Even if someone has taken action, we still have to attack. We should still be able to get a share. At the very least, we have to try and seize the deity race's breathing technique. Someone was carrying an ultimate weapon that could be ranked among the top in the cosmos. He was about to attack the deity race's mother planet. A race of this level naturally belonged to the strongest. Unexpectedly, it wasn't just one race that was moved. There were others who couldn't bear it any longer and were ready to attack. On this day, the cosmos was in chaos. There was no peace. People still didn't know that all of this was caused by the evolvers on Earth. Who did it? Logically speaking, Earth is the most suspicious. After all, they have a feud with those races. It's a mortal enmity. But if Earth's 4 great heaven illuminators don't come out, they shouldn't have that kind of strength. It's definitely not an evolver from Earth. I'm guessing there's more to it. But won't we know after we investigate and ask the survivors from the deity race, spirit race, and Shilin clan? Chapter 750. In the starry skies, everyone was guessing and discussing who had done such a shocking thing. The first thing people suspected was the 10 Great. Only they had this kind of strength, and they also had this kind of motivation. This kind of speed was too fast, and they dispatched their troops decisively. The faces of the people in charge of the 10 Greats darkened. Although they wanted to take action and some people were already on their way, they really hadn't done it before. This was too unjust. In order not to be wrongly accused, we must speed up and quickly conquer the deity race's ancestral city. Otherwise, we'll let down this dirty water. Someone from the 10 Greats said. Quick, open the super wormhole and go straight to the deity planet. We must seize the deity breathing technique. The 10 Greats were taking action and striking like thunder. At their level, they were everlasting and towered above all races. Naturally, they reeked of blood. Among them were wandering cultivators and experts from other races. They all wanted a share of the good soup. For example, Anxing had suffered a setback on Earth and was frightened away by the spider lilies. Now, he had run to the vicinity of the deity planet and said to himself, "The meaning of life lies in discovery and research. For this reason, I came to this planet to explore and research the deity breathing technique. As for poetry and distance, they can go to hell." For a moment, a storm was brewing. The deity race once again became a place of trouble. A group of experts had gathered. Boom. Some people wanted to find the truth and confirm who did it. In the end, they hadn't even gotten close when they heard a huge explosion. There was the rumble of an ultimate weapon blasting the deity race's ancestral city. In addition, there were heaven illuminators roaming about unhindered on the deity planet. For a moment, the outside world was shocked and terrified. Who did it? The 10 Greats haven't finished looting yet, but they're doing it again? No, the 10 Greats must have come first and then later. Someone just left and now someone else is coming. They're attacking in batches. Some people were guessing. Uncle Ming stood in front of the camera. He first coughed, then tidied up his appearance and prepared to speak. He had a solemn expression on his face. However, at this time, an explosive piece of news came from the starry skies. Someone was broadcasting live. It was a man wearing a demon mask. He was holding a press conference on the platform under the banner of the Black Blood Arena. It was grand and powerful, attracting the attention of countless people. I hereby announce that the Fallen Angel Organization is responsible for this matter. I solemnly inform everyone that the deity race, Serene clan, spirit race, netherworld race, and machine race were all massacred by us to teach them a lesson for their ignorance and arrogance. What? Oh my! On Earth, Chu Feng was dumbfounded. As for Uncle Ming, he had already cleared his throat and was posing for the camera. He was just about to make a shocking statement, but someone had intercepted him? Motherf ****. Uncle Ming was confused. Where did this fallen angel organization come from? How could they be responsible for this incident? Uncle Ming wanted to curse. He had never seen such a person. How dare he falsely claim such a terrifying purge? How dare he take the initiative to fight for it? He was stunned for a moment, and then he really wanted to roar. Which one? Come out. In the starry sky, a group of people were stunned. There really was someone who stood out to admit it. This truly made their jaws drop to the ground. Many people were speechless. Who are they? Many people asked each other, but none of them understood this organization. They had never heard of it. However, when the older generation figures were alarmed, they all gasped, greatly shaken. It was because they knew that they had heard of this before when they were young. This was an ancient assassin organization that was equally as famous as the Skypiercer. However, they failed to compete with the Skypiercer and declined in the end, almost being destroyed. I never thought that they would come into being again. A saint who had survived since ancient times spoke. The Fallen Angel Organization actually had such a great background. Uncle Ming was unhappy. This kind of thing was fake. It really made him speechless. In reality, the universe's black market and the group of old saints who had escaped from the universe's black prison were also speechless. They had never seen such a person. Not long after, someone revealed that this couldn't have been done by the Fallen Angel Organization. This was because someone pointed out that this organization was proficient in assassination technique. In a true frontal confrontation and large-scale battle, they simply weren't this strong. Moreover, if they had the power to massacre the deity race, they wouldn't have lost to the Skypiercer in ancient times. Moreover, there was the Netherworld race, which was second only to the deity race, as well as the Shilin clan, the spirit race, and the machine race. These powerful races weren't something that the fallen angels' side could shake. Then, the world was in an uproar. Everyone was speechless. This kind of flaw couldn't be more obvious. This fallen angel organization was truly unconventional. Although this kind of battle record was terrifying, it wasn't a good thing. They had to rush to falsely claim it, which made people roll their eyes. However, people quickly understood that the Fallen Angel Organization wanted to expand their influence. They wanted to resume their old business and take on assassination missions. They needed to make a name for themselves. In the end, a group of people denounced them as fake and unanimously believed that they weren't the ones who did it. Then, a lot of evidence was presented. Very soon, the victims' families appeared. Some people went to the spirit race and the machine race to find out the truth and uncover it. Some of the victims were invited in front of the camera. The first thing they did was curse and roar. Their eyes were scarlet and they had all gone crazy. At this time, Uncle Ming finally appeared. Before he was exposed, he immediately held a press conference and used the Origin Beast platform to announce it to the entire universe. The current Earth was naturally the center of attention. Even the slightest movement would be interpreted excessively by the outside world and needed to be treated seriously. That was because there were 4 heaven illuminators here who had just obtained a great victory that shocked the starry seas. Now they were already close to the 10 greats. Who wouldn't care? For a moment, no one paid attention to the victims' live broadcast. The most important thing was that these victims were possessed. Their eyes were scarlet red like blood and their mouths were full of curses. At this time, Uncle Ming bemoaned the state of the universe and pitied the fate of mankind. He spoke in a sorrowful tone and said, "We express our condolences to the victims and express our deep sympathy and regret for this incident. This sorrowful day deserves to be remembered by everyone. I propose that today be a memorial day. From now on, we must remember those victims every year." In the universe, people from all races were thrown into disorder. For a moment, they were all dumbfounded and couldn't understand. The deity race, spirit race, and Shilin clan were all mortal enemies of Earth, yet he was here mourning and wanted to establish today as a memorial day. Was he trying to cause trouble? Uncle Ming continued and said, "At the same time, I want to warn the Tao friends of the heavenly god race and other races to behave themselves. Don't be too arrogant, or else there will be more tragedies. Take this as a warning. Finally, we express our responsibility for this incident." After that, he stepped off the stage and ended the press conference in a short and low-key manner. The starry sky was instantly silent. Everyone was flabbergasted and dumbfounded. Everyone was petrified. What kind of mourning and memorial conference was this? This was a celebration and provocation. After that, it was as if the starry sky had exploded. Every race was in an uproar. The Evolvers were boiling, and the Origin Beast platform and Black Blood platform were in chaos. Every race was quite shocked. They simply couldn't believe it. How could the declined Earth be so heaven-defying? They could actually massacre the deity race, spirit race, and Shilin clan. If this was true, their rankings would definitely soar. Even the primal chaos demon god couldn't stop them from charging into the top 10. This was a heaven-defying accomplishment. The victim's family has spoken. He's weeping blood and cursing, saying that Chong Ming led people to do this. He said he wanted to pull out his tendons, peel off his skin, and squeeze out his bone marrow. He wasn't finished with him. Finally, it was confirmed from the victim's family that it was indeed Uncle Ming who led people to do this. This shook the starry sky of the universe. "Chong Ming, I want to fight you to the death. If you have the guts, come to the starry sky and fight to the death. I'll beat you up." A top-notch saint from the spirit race had disheveled hair and half his body was covered in blood. There was a bloody hole between his brows. Clearly, he had narrowly escaped death and hated Uncle Ming. Now that things had come to this, everyone knew that there was no running away. It was guaranteed that Uncle Ming had led people to do this. They had obtained confirmation. Many Evolvers felt a chill run down their spines. How much power did the Earth have? According to the victim's family, this was done by a group of old saints. A considerable number of them wore devil masks and didn't reveal their true faces. Only a small portion of them showed their true faces. Most of them were once prisoners of the universe and had just escaped from the universe's black prison. At this time, not only was the universe shaken, but some people on Earth were so shaken that their souls almost left their bodies. For instance, the Evolvers from Penglai, Fangzhong, and Yingzhou. Today, all of them felt their scalps go numb. One incident after another had scared them out of their wits, and they were about to lose their souls. Doubtlessly, the shadow in their hearts was boundless. They felt that the end of the world had arrived and all their hopes had turned to dust. They didn't know when Demon King Chu would come knocking on their doors, and who knew what kind of end would befall them. On Earth, Chu Feng arrived in front of the camera and followed in Uncle Ming's footstep. He once again proposed to establish today as the day of suffering so that all races could remember it and learn from it. In the outer realms, the relevant races' lungs were about to explode and their livers were about to shatter. They simply couldn't stand it. To them, this was a day of humiliation. Obviously, whether it was Uncle Ming or Chu Feng, they were all undisguised mockery and rubbing salt on their wounds. Everyone, I hereby call upon all experts from all over the heavens to unite and suppress Earth. They have no bottom line and want to challenge the order of the universe. Since the ancient war, the order of the world has been set and cannot be challenged. At this time, an old monster jumped out from the starry skies. He was definitely standing on the side of those who had suffered. The old monster from the netherworld race immediately responded and solemnly expressed that the current structure of the universe had been set. No one could challenge the fixed order and everyone had to obey it. If Earth wanted to rise, it had to be carried out within the fixed framework. Go to hell. Moo. The big black yak looked at the camera and directly responded. Now, the camera on Earth was broadcasting live to the entire universe. It was the focus of the world and could completely challenge the entire starry skies by standing here. Because Earth was strong enough now, all parties were paying close attention to it. Chu Feng was very disdainful towards this and said, "If you're not satisfied, then fight. Come to Earth and I'll be waiting for you." Now, there were 4 great heaven illuminators here. As long as they weren't stupid, no one was willing to be the vanguard. No one dared to act recklessly. After all, there was still purgatory on Earth, and no one could truly destroy this place. Today, I'm in the mood for poetry. I'm prepared to sing and welcome everyone to Earth. Ouyang the toad opened his mouth and began to sing. Earth welcomes you, splitting open the heavens and Earth for you. The flowing charm is full of vitality. Motherf ****. In the starry skies, a group of people exploded. They really wanted to attack Earth. This was too infuriating. This was a challenge to the entire universe. He was even singing that everyone was welcome to challenge Earth. But after thinking about it carefully, who would dare? Now, there were 4 powerhouses on Earth and a group of old saints who had returned with Uncle Ming. This kind of strength was simply bursting. In addition, there was Yao Yao who dared to eliminate everyone in the same generation as her. In addition, there was the newly risen demon King Chu. The situation was simply great and the potential for development was boundless. At this moment, in front of Mount Zhijin, the Sage Master was personally grinding that rotten root. Although it was an immortal medicine, it looked moldy and no one could tell if it had any medicinal effects. This is a supreme precious medicine. This kind of thing can be used on obsessions and souls. It's a divine item that can't be enjoyed by the corporeal body. It's extremely heaven-defying. The Sage Master made such an evaluation and immediately dispelled everyone's doubts. Yao Yao was very decisive. She poured that kind of powder directly into her mouth. At the same time, the rating agencies under the Wormhole Express Company and the Black Blood Arena announced to the public that they were carrying out the most rigorous evaluation. They were about to publish a report to determine the ultimate rankings of Earth's races, the deity race and the netherworld race. The whole world was shocked and every race was shaken. People realized that the true major power structure was about to be reshuffled. Who would have thought that Earth would rise so quickly? Chong Ming roped in a group of saints to Earth and passed the Sage Master's test. Suitable people could live there for a long time. From now on, this planet is destined to prosper. Some people were sighing. They clearly realized that no one could stop this planet from rising. It was going to prosper and prosper in this world. June Tua eggs from the outer realms, whoever isn't convinced, come and fight me at the peak of Mount Kunlun's heavenly vine. We'll fight at the same level. This old yak will fight 10 of you alone. Challenged the big black yak. Now that he had the innocuous ox demonic physique, his fighting spirit was high. After Earth had recovered and he had the confidence to face the universe's powerful races, he also wanted to challenge all kinds of opponents. Uncle Ouyang, I'll fight 100 of you alone. Yes, I'm talking about the netherworld race, the spirit race, and the deity race. If you have the guts, come over and I'll beat all of you into June Tua eggs. This kind of declaration made the group of opponents gnash their teeth in anger. Chapter 751. Quite a few people wanted to laugh after hearing of Jun Tuo's complaint. This quasi-divine beast actually caused a disturbance in the Celebrity Protection Association and strongly requested that the scoundrel be punished and his reputation restored. Ancient Saint Jun Tuo, please calm your anger. I don't think this can be considered a bad thing. On the contrary, it will make you more and more famous. Your name will shake the sea of stars. Someone tried to smooth things over. Otherwise, they would really go to Earth to hunt villains. Who would dare? What kind of place was Earth now? Even the strongest heaven illuminators wouldn't be able to come out after entering. Do you know how to speak human language? What are you saying? Do you want to anger this old man to death? Jun Tuo slammed the table. Primal chaos surged all over his body as his saliva sprayed all over that person's face. Fortunately, the vice president of the Celebrity Protection Association, Gu Sanming, was also a sage. Otherwise, his body would have been crushed by the powerful impact and he would have died. Fellow Taoist Jun Tuo, you have to think of the good side, you can't be too pessimistic. Think about it, even though you're not in Jianghu, your name has always been circulating in Jianghu. Do you know what this is? Fame, popularity, wealth. What is most valuable now? That's all you have. Didn't you see those universe singers and beautiful celebrities? From time to time, they would walk around and create all sorts of hot topics. What were they after? Attracting attention, and gaining popularity. With this, they would be able to prosper for a long time, and they would have fame and wealth. So, Tao brother, don't be resentful. Look at it from another angle. This world is so beautiful. After Jun Tuo heard this, he was greatly angered and almost vomited blood. He was the one who felt wronged and came here to complain, but in the end, he was forced to drink half a bowl of spicy chicken soup for the soul. His chest was heaving up and down, and he was panting heavily. He stared at Gu Sanming, and he really wanted to give him a good beating. In the end, ancient sage Jun Tuo left in a huff. He couldn't stay in this place. Everyone was trying to smooth things over and there was no one to do things. He was so angry that he wanted to blast away the bronze plaque outside the Celebrity Protection Association's main hall. Lord Jun Tuo. Someone came up to greet Jun Tuo not far after he had just walked out of the Great Hall where the Celebrity Protection Association was located. The person was very cordial and invited Jun Tuo to one side. He actually wanted to discuss business with him. What do you mean? Jun Tuo was very vigilant. Our Kai Yuan Weapons Pavilion wants to cooperate with you. We want to use your name to produce a Jun Tuo brand ancient shield. What do you think? Hey, don't hit people. Even if we can't make a deal, we'll still be benevolent and righteous. We've prepared a set of saint-grade shields for you as repayment. Murder! Save me! Jun Tuo is murdering people. Saint Jun Tuo's countenance was ashen as he chased after that quasi-sage across half a planet. In the end, he gave up because he was afraid of the other party's background. What was going on? He was burning with rage. Fellow Taoist, have you seen it? With popularity comes wealth. Even though you're no longer in the Jianghu, your name is still circulating in the Jianghu. From a different perspective, this world is so beautiful. Vice President Gu Sanming of the Celebrity Protection Association sent Jun Tuo off. As he watched Jun Tuo walk into the wormhole, he emphasized this once again and waved at him. Jun Tuo was so angry that he almost charged back to fight him to the death. Countless people in the starry sky didn't know whether to laugh or cry after this video was recorded and uploaded. There were those who observed a moment of silence for ancient Saint Jun Tuo, and there were also those who were envious. At this moment, an astonishing piece of news was spreading. The deity race's ancestral city was under attack. An ultimate weapon had crashed into it, causing the city walls to crack and be on the verge of exploding. At this moment, it was needless to say that people from the 10 greats were making a move to snatch the deity breathing technique. One had to admit that the race's ancestral city was too sturdy. It could resist the attacks of heaven illuminators and had consumed countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures to condense into an immortal city. On this day, the deity race suffered the attacks of at least 4 powerful races in succession. One section of the city walls finally collapsed. Does the heavens want to destroy our deity race? An elder from the race cried out in anger. He gazed at the sky and was in complete despair. Presently, the ancestral city was starting to crack. There was only one complete protective light screen left. It was formed from energy runes and was protecting the central region of the ancestral city. This place was a place of ancestral worship. Now, everyone had retreated here, but they wouldn't be able to hold on for long. This place would definitely be blasted apart. Rumble! The gates of the ancestral city were blasted open. The walls made of heavenly materials and earthly treasures couldn't withstand the continuous attacks of the ultimate weapons and disintegrated continuously. At this moment, 4 powerful races each wore masks of malicious spirits, demons, and angels. They charged in and each occupied a region. Hand over the deity breathing technique. A man with a low and muffled voice shouted for the deity race to submit. Ancestor, deities of the primal chaotic deity palace, do you know what happened here? Quickly come and save your descendants. A group of elders with disheveled hair and covered in blood stared at the sky with incomparable grief and indignation. You bunch of executioners! Someone shouted as he glared at the invaders. A man wearing an angel mask sneered and said, Back then, when your deity race attacked the ancient earth and slaughtered hundreds of other races, wasn't it the same? Can't you just change positions? Boom! He attacked and smashed forward with a fist. The light screen surged and was about to explode. Buzz! In the cosmos, a resplendent silver divine steel rushed over and turned into a shocking rainbow. It was too fast and seemed to have appeared in fragments of time. In the end, it entered this planet and landed in the ancestral city. With a loud sound, the silver divine steel landed here and suppressed the area. At the same time, a decree appeared on the silver divine steel and floated up. It was written in the most ancient language of the universe. It was concise and comprehensive, and its meaning was very clear and simple. Upon seeing this decree, no one was allowed to destroy the deity race or attack this place. Otherwise, the deity palace in the primal chaos would dispatch troops to exterminate the race of the attacker and bathe their home planet in blood. It didn't say much, but the general idea was very powerful. It warned every race that those who dared to destroy the deity race's ancestral city would pay the price in blood and be exterminated. Ancestor, supreme deity, you've finally shown your spirit. Your useless descendants kneel here to welcome the decree. Everyone from the deity race saw this scene in despair. Many people cheered, and some old men cried tears of joy as they led their clansmen to kowtow. Ancestor, why don't you personally descend? Today, many people are offending the dignity of the deity race and want to destroy this place. You should just raise your hand and kill them. An old man from the deity race cried and knelt here. He wanted nothing more than to ask the deity of the deity palace to descend immediately and sweep away all the opponents in this part of the starry sky. Not far away, the experts of the races who had broken through the ancestral city all revealed serious expressions. Facing the deity palace in the primal chaos, they were indeed afraid and didn't dare to act rashly. However, after hearing the old man's words, someone immediately sneered and said, Do you think only your race has the deity palace behind them? Haven't you heard of the Amitabha Temple, the primal chaos divine demon palace, the banished immortal cave, and other supreme pure lands in the primal chaos? If we really fight to the death, it's not certain who will be the one to be exterminated. The implication was that they also had people behind them and were confident. However, in the end, these people still retreated and didn't destroy the deity race. They left behind a mess and a bloody scene. The attack this time led to the death of many people from the deity race. Explosions followed on the city walls and on the city gates, leaving bloodstains everywhere. How hateful! To think that our deity race's name shook the world, and the 4 seas of the universe submitted to us. Who dared to disrespect us? Who would have thought that our race would almost be exterminated today? Humiliation, extraordinary humiliation! A few old monsters from the deity race howled and their eyes were about to split open. 70% of their saints had died and not many were left. It was the same for their elite disciples. It was too bitter. In the end, the curtains fell on the great battle and the universe regained its tranquility. The truth also spread to the outside world and caused everyone to tremble. Even the powerful deity race was almost wiped out and completely exterminated. This caused everyone to feel insecure. The universe was realistic and cruel. Once one fell behind, it was possible that they would become the prey of a powerful race. They would be hunted and destroyed. At this time, the rating agencies under the Wormhole Express Company and the Black Blood Arena gave the final rankings. The rankings of every planet had changed. It was because a certain vital planet's ranking had soared rapidly and pushed down many races. Originally, they were ranked below 100,000 and couldn't even be found. It could even be said that they didn't have a ranking. We solemnly announce that Earth is ranked in the universe's starry sea. The Wormhole Express Company and the Black Blood Arena reached a consensus. They revised and announced the results together. 10th place. Once this ranking came out, every race was shocked even though they were already mentally prepared. This climbing speed was too heaven-defying and had never been seen before in history. It jumped from 100,000 to 10th place in one day and changed several times. First, it was the top 50, then the top 20, and now it was the top 10 in one go. This was universally shocking. The most important thing was that the top 10, which had never changed since ancient times, had changed and been replaced. If it weren't for the fact that Earth only took in a few saints in the end, our ranking might have been even higher, the Black Blood platform added. The Wormhole Express Company reserved their opinion regarding this and didn't express their opinion. The Sage Master was very picky and didn't dare to leave the saints of the universe's black market on Earth. He also only chose a small portion of those who had escaped from the universe's black prison. That was because these people were ruthless stubble. It was fine if the Sage Master was overseeing Earth, but once he left, it would be bad if these people stayed behind and harmed Earth. This kind of people were all unruly and difficult to discipline. Rather than that, it would be better to maintain a certain distance and form a cooperative relationship. What about the deity race? And the netherworld race, spirit race, machine race? What are their rankings? People really wanted to know. There was no longer any suspense regarding Earth. They had long since guessed it and wanted to know how much the originally powerful races had fallen. The Shilin race's ranking is 501st. The Wormhole Express Company announced the Shilin race's ranking. This was a rapid decline. This race directly dropped out of the top 500 and showed signs of great decline. If it weren't for the support of the 9th under the starry skies, Wei Heng, this race's ranking would have been even lower. The machine race is ranked 100th. There was an uproar after the machine race's ranking was announced. Their race's machine Vajra had died in battle, but their ranking hadn't changed much and had even risen a few places. That was because previously the machine race could only be considered to be in the top 100. Under most circumstances they were in the top 100 and not in the top 100. Although the machine race suffered heavy losses this time, one thing has been confirmed. Their race's legendary character, the primordial Vajra, is still alive and in this world. He used to be an ancient and extremely powerful existence. As long as he's in this world, It's impossible for the machine race to drop out of the top 100. The rating agency under the Black Blood platform explained. Furthermore, they elaborated further, saying, if it weren't for the primordial Vajra's body being partially decayed, his ranking would be frighteningly high. They had received uncertain news that the primordial Vajra had divided his body into 5 parts and hidden them in the universe's 5 great gold mines, waiting for a new life. If he succeeded, it would be extremely terrifying. The Netherworld race is ranked 49th. The Wormhole Express Company announced the Netherworld race's ranking. This race was indeed powerful. A giant and a bone dragon had died, yet they could still have such a high ranking. Even though the race was massacred, they still have a distant ancestor who revealed his life aura on that day. It's proven that he's still alive, so they still have a terrifying competitive edge. The Spirit race is ranked 54th. This ranking had dropped quite a bit, but it still made people raise their eyebrows. However, no one doubted it. It was confirmed that the existence of the Spirit race, who held the divine blood banner back then and wreaked havoc in the starry seas, was still alive. He was hiding in an unknown place in the depths of the universe to recuperate. With him around, the race wouldn't decline. The deity race is ranked 251st. In the end, the deity race's ranking was also announced. This race simply fell in a straight line from the top 10 to the top 200. The people were in an uproar, but they could understand why. The reason was very simple. In this battle, the deity race's heaven illuminators were all blown up. Not a single one was left. In addition, the race's ultimate weapon had also flown away and was nowhere to be found. They could still rank so high only because they had the deity breathing technique. If they were given time, there would still be hope for them to rise. Of course, we didn't take into account the deity palace in the primal chaos. Otherwise, it would be even more terrifying, the Wormhole Express Company added. The universe was clamoring as a new major power structure was formed. The Earth's rise was too swift and violent. No one dared to believe that they would return to the top 10 all of a sudden. According to this development, if they went first, they would still be able to improve and their ranking would be even higher. The next day, a shocking piece of news spread throughout the starry seas, causing countless people from every race to go crazy. Chapter 752. The Palace of the Primal Chaotic War Deity has come into being and appeared in the dilapidated universe. Whoever can charge in will be able to inherit the position of War God and become the new Primal Chaotic War Deity. This news shook the universe. A heaven illuminator had escaped from the primal chaos and chased after such a secret. He had already been crippled, and his injuries were difficult to heal. He was in an extremely miserable state. However, he was in a crazed state. His eyes were scarlet and he still hadn't broken free from that state. His good friends and several others worked together to suppress him and finally calmed him down. He withdrew from his crazed state and regained his tranquility. This powerhouse was horrified and felt a lingering fear. He had almost gone crazy and became a cripple. This was all because an old monk from the primal chaos Amitabha temple had tried to enlighten him and had even shouted out loud. However, he swore that what he said was true. The dilapidated universe was boiling as people from all walks of life, including the primal chaos demonic gods and prehistoric beasts, were all mobilized. They rushed toward the ruins of the palace of the primal chaotic war deity and wanted to charge into that supreme palace. This wasn't the first time many people in this universe had heard of this divine palace. That was because anyone who entered the dilapidated universe had always heard about the legend of that miraculous place since ancient times. Not to mention them, even the banished immortal cave, the primal chaos divine demon palace, the Amitabha temple, and the deity palace were all searching for it from the primordial era until now. That was because once they took over, It meant that they would immediately transcend above and be almost invincible from then on. Why were those top-notch powers so transcendent in the dilapidated universe? It was because their ancestors had once inherited the divine position left behind by this ancient universe. From then on, this race had a god overseeing it. That was why they could prosper and overlook the other races. They weren't afraid of starting a war with the giant beasts in the primal chaos. They could even fight to the death with a true primal chaos divine demon and wouldn't shrink back because the other party's innate strength was too great. For example, the deity palace and the Amitabha temple had both inherited the ancient divine position left behind in the dilapidated universe and rose to power. It could be seen from their names that they all had great origins. We must go. If we can seize the divine position of the primal chaos war deity, our universe will also have a god overseeing it from then on. We will undoubtedly become the #1 clan under the starry skies and the #1 orthodoxy. When the news spread, not to mention heaven illuminators, even saints went crazy and wanted to enter the broken universe in the primal chaos. Any powerful evolver would be tempted by this kind of temptation. There was no one who wouldn't be tempted. This was a peerless fruit that could truly allow an evolver to transcend. This kind of deity seat could be inherited, and it was said that it was a ball of undying primal chaos light that could fuse with one's body to obtain the deity seat and nourish one's body, allowing one to quickly break through to the paramount realm. Master, are you really going to leave? You're only at the saint realm. You can't compare to those heaven-illuminating old monsters. On a certain planet, a middle-aged man was worried. I have to go, there's great fortune there. No matter who it is, as long as they inherit the position of primal chaos war god, they will be able to immediately transcend and look down on the entire cosmos, able to stand on equal footing with Mitua temple and prehistoric giant beasts. The Origin Devil Palace and exiled Immortal Cave in the primal chaos were all formed like this. The ancestor obtained the position of a deity, and then his status became transcendent, making all sides submit. This kind of matter made every race envious. There was the inheritance of a deity and the power to rival the ultimate orthodoxy of the primal chaos, Mitua temple, and the primal chaos Godfiend palace. Who wouldn't be tempted? On this day, half of the heaven illuminators disappeared. They charged toward the desolate borders of the cosmos, and then charged into the ancient world in the primal chaos. All the powerhouses in the world moved upon hearing the news. Even the saints set out on a journey to the outer domain's ancient lands. This kind of inheritance didn't necessarily rely on strength to obtain. Luck played a huge role as well. At this moment, people on Earth were also paying attention to the earth-shattering event in the broken universe. However, the matter that was even more tense was related to Yao Yao's resurrection plan. According to the Sage Master and Uncle Ming, as long as they could truly bring Yao Yao back to life, they were willing to immediately lose one Heaven Illuminator expert on Earth. According to what the two of them said, they had never seen an evolver more brilliant than Yao Yao. She alone could show disdain for all opponents at the same level. As long as she was a Heaven Illuminator, she wasn't afraid of any enemy and could sweep through them all. One could imagine how confident they were in Yao Yao because this was a battle record. Back then, the 9th under the starry skies, Wei Heng, had defected, and the 3rd under the starry skies, Yao Yao's fiancée, had also left. The younger generation of ancient Earth only relied on Yao Yao to support them, and they defeated the younger generation of every race in the universe. In that era, she was truly stunning. Her exploding battle record shocked the higher-ups of every race. The top 10 of the younger generation had all been beaten by her. Even though some races didn't attack Earth, their #1 successors and the peerless geniuses of their race couldn't help but challenge her. For example, the 9 orifices heavenly tribulation, innocuous divine physique, superfluous combat physique, divine glass golden body, winged godhead, and so on. That generation was called the Golden Generation because they were known as the most powerful batch of youth. Later generations simply couldn't compare. It was because all kinds of physiques appeared and there were outstanding people in great numbers. Every race's successor was too strong. There were saints who didn't believe in heresy and entered the spiritual domain at the peak of the heavenly vine to fight with Yao Yao. She killed who knew how many people at the same level as her. It was rather shocking back then, and no one dared to challenge her again. Resurrect. You must restore your true body. Uncle Ming prayed. Chu Feng was also very nervous. He was also looking forward to Yao Yao's reappearance in one piece. Buzz. Yao Yao's obsession, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly shone brightly. In an instant, her body condensed and revealed exuberant vitality. Golden light shone everywhere, and dense spiritual energy filled the air. In the end, she shone like a small sun and illuminated the entire Mount Zhijin. The void trembled and buzzed. Qi. Yao Yao's soul shone brightly as she suddenly opened her eyes. Her entire body emitted an aura that made people tremble. It made the hearts of the Black Yak, Old Donkey, and the others palpitate and tremble. Sister, have you resurrected? Ouyang Feng cried out. His mouth was very sweet and he had a despicable smile on his face. He immediately went to flatter her. A sigh was heard as Yao Yao glowed with astonishing brilliance. At this moment, her body was covered in white clothes. Her beautiful hair was like a waterfall, her eyes were bright, her teeth were white, and her lips were bright red. The sage master also sighed. He was very regretful. As for Uncle Ming, he almost cried at first, but in the end, he smiled and said, "It doesn't matter. We'll do it step by step. I'm content with this kind of result. At the very least, Yao Yao can definitely resurrect." Chu Feng understood. Yao Yao's wisp of obsession had undergone nirvana and derived a complete soul. She was now in a spiritual body state. There shouldn't be any problems with her soul. What she lacked was a sparkling and translucent body. If she could reconstruct her flesh and blood, then it would be flawless. Uncle Ming was right. As long as her soul was complete, there was nothing to fear. There were many ways to reconstruct a physical body in this world. It wouldn't be as hopeless as before. In the past, Yao Yao needed the 9 orifices tribulation flower, the heavenly mandate fruit, and many other great medicines. They only appeared in legends. It would take a long time to find one, and it was almost impossible to collect all of them. The sage master said, using spiritual objects to reconstruct a body isn't very effective, even if it's a divine object. Otherwise, I would have gone to the primal chaos to help Yao Yao snatch a green lotus and reconstruct her body. But Yao Yao needs the best flesh and blood body. She needs her own real body. That way, she can still look down on the entire starry sky. As long as there's a drop of Yao Yao's blood, she can reconstruct her real body. Uncle Ming sighed. Unfortunately, there was a remnant of blood left, but in the end it lost its activity and couldn't be used. I'll go look for it. There's a legend in this world about soul and blood coexisting. I'll definitely be able to let Yao Yao reappear in this world. The sage master emphasized. There were many ways to bring Yao Yao back to life. For example, she could seize her body or use divine objects to reconstruct her body. But these weren't what they wanted. The most powerful Yao Yao still needed an original body that matched her soul. This nirvanic immortal medicine is indeed not simple. The sage master sighed. He confirmed that the immortal medicine Yao Yao's grandfather found in the abyss of Kunlun was the nirvanic immortal medicine. It was said to be able to save even a shattered soul and allow a person to reappear. Today, it had manifested itself and allowed Yao Yao's soul to undergo nirvana and return in its entirety. Unfortunately, it only targeted the soul and not the physical body. Chu Feng opened his mouth and comforted him. Yes, there's no rush. Since the myriad star physique let me refine a great medicine, There must be a 9 orifices tribulation physique in this world. I'll think of a way from him. In addition, there's an immortal destiny physique now. I suspect he was created by eating a destiny fruit. I'll pay attention to him. At this moment, the immortal destiny physique in the distance sneezed. He felt a chill run down his spine and instinctively had a bad premonition. That's right. The earth has recovered and the deity race has fallen. No matter how you look at it, it's not simple. Perhaps those immortal medicines will appear and we can gather them all. Uncle Ming nodded. Yao Yao was quite indifferent. So many years had passed and she wasn't in a hurry. Moreover, she could cultivate rapidly now that her soul was complete. To her, time was no longer wasted. It was truly valuable. Back then, my physical body was torn into pieces and fell into a cosmic abyss. There might be hope if I can find it, Yao Yao said softly. However, Uncle Ming and the Sage Master had looked for it for many years, but there was no trace of it. Back then, Yao Yao's father had refined a powerful secret treasure for her that could regenerate her flesh. She suspected that even if her body was in tatters, she could still reconstruct it. Unfortunately, her soul had been destroyed and only a strand of her will had escaped. Back then, she couldn't sense the exact coordinates of her physical body's fall. Chu Feng and Yellow Cattle listened with disappointment and frustration. Back then, such a stunning woman like Yao Yao had faced a hopeless battle. She was the only one left, yet she still charged toward the sky and fought until her body disintegrated. One could imagine that kind of scene. It was too tragic. The Sage Master acted swiftly and decisively. He left for the chaotic universe that very day to help Yao Yao find a way to regenerate her soul and blood. I suspect that the chaotic war deity palace has such a thing. After all, it's a place where deities can be created. I want to charge in, said the Sage Master. 2 days later, news came from the desolate edge of the universe. The previous rumors were true. The broken universe was already in chaos. Even the Amitabha Temple and the deity palace were fighting and charging toward the ruins there. Even the chaotic gods and demons went crazy. Many of them appeared with unrivaled bravery and stirred up a rain of blood. After the news was confirmed and transmitted back to this universe, the remaining heaven illuminators set out, including the old monsters from the netherworld race. They went completely crazy. Moreover, the saints also moved. They weren't afraid of falling or dying because the news from the flawed ancient universe said that the old Buddha of the Amitabha Temple was only a quasi-saint back then, but he inherited the divine position due to fate. From then on, the Amitabha Temple transcended above. It was truly inspiring. The starry sky was in complete chaos. The powerhouses disappeared and the saints didn't show themselves. It was simply a great migration. They all left this universe and entered the ancient world in the primal chaos. For this reason, Uncle Ming also set out. He brought along a few trustworthy old saints and charged toward the desolate edge of the universe. Yao Yao, don't worry. Uncle will definitely help you find the immortal medicine that can resurrect you and let you appear in one piece. Uncle Ming and the others disappeared. As for Earth's safety, they weren't worried at all. They told Chu Feng to invite the red spider lily and call for that woman in the abyss of Kunlun if any blind person came. If it really didn't work and the two didn't respond, he would release Yao Yao's grandfather and wipe out the enemy's entire race. The 3 powerhouses on Earth were very special. They wouldn't leave, and this was the greatest deterrent. Time passed quickly. After 6 or 7 days, the seats of the universe's powerhouses were practically empty. Almost all the old monsters had run away, and even the golden bodhisattvas of the Buddhist race weren't so aloof anymore. They charged toward another universe. Even though the Tao race paid particular attention to inaction, the elders still set out on their journey. Oh my, are there still saints in the universe? Come out and let us admire you. Some extremely daring people ridiculed on the Origin Beast platform. In reality, no one showed their heads. Not to mention the radical saints, even those old antiques who had been in seclusion for many years and were about to die in meditation had moved. They wanted to make a last stand in their later years. That was because in the chaotic war god's palace, there were other Tao positions that could be inherited apart from the deity position. Once that ancient palace disintegrated, there was no telling who would obtain the light ball that flew out. Moreover, they didn't need to get too close. They just needed to hide in a sufficiently safe area to succeed. The Great Migration and Retreat made people feel that this universe was almost empty. The big black yak was deeply moved. He stood on the heavenly vine of Kunlun and howled toward the universe. The saints are all gone. Isn't it our turn to be kings? This old yak wants to fight for the world's number one. Who dares to fight me? Bang. Then, he was kicked down by someone. Chapter 753. Who is it? Come out. Who dares to sneak an attack on me? Don't you know who I am? I'm the strongest innocuous ox demonic divine physique in history. I'm going to dominate the world. The black yak's face was swollen as he crawled up from the ground. He was kicked off the heavenly vine and smashed onto the peak of Mount Kunlun. He was in a rather sorry state. Young lady, she had arrived. She was young and lively, full of life, and beautiful. She looked like she was 15 or 16 years old. She stood at the end of the heavenly vine and called out to Chu Feng. On earth, everyone had a strange expression on their faces. There was still someone who dared to challenge Chu Feng? He alone captured the myriad star physique, innocuous divine physique, and origin magnetic sacred physique, and refined them into great medicines. Now, there was still someone who dared to cause trouble for him? It's a girl. There's definitely a problem here. The old donkey bared his buck teeth and looked at Chu Feng with a dubious expression. That was because the name Wu Luanhui belonged to Chu Feng. There was no need to ask. This person was definitely related to him. The Manchurian tiger, Zhou Quan, and the others were all smiles and revealed strange expressions. In reality, they could even guess Lady Shi's identity if they thought about it carefully. Although Chu Feng didn't talk about his experience in the starry sky in detail, he roughly mentioned some things. Chu Feng knew who it was just by hearing the voice. He looked at Ouyang Feng and instigated, "Do you dare to go up? I think you can withstand 100 moves from her." Ouyang Feng heard this and immediately wanted to spit on his face. He wanted to give him a heavy downpour and make him look like a drowned rat. "Come out. I Wu Luanhui am number one in the world. Who dares to fight me? Chu Feng, come and have an audience with me." Lady Shi provoked as she stood on the heavenly vine and looked down at earth. "I'll give you the reincarnation blade if you can defeat her." Chu Feng tempted. "Really?" Ouyang the toad had been eyeing his saber for a long time. His eyes were bright, and a sunny smile bloomed on his face that was full of golden stripes. His mouth was grinning from ear to ear. Chu Feng nodded and looked at him with a smile. With a whoosh, Ouyang Feng disappeared. He charged straight at the heavenly vine and roared, "Hey, this divine king is here. Little bastard, come over here." At this time, the black yak had also rushed up the heavenly vine and was about to make a move. Ouyang Feng said, "Old black, step back. I'm the best at dealing with this kind of little fellow who hasn't even fully grown his hair yet. You watch from the side." After that, he looked at Wu Luanhui and immediately, he revealed a strange expression. This was because the young man in front of him was too similar to Chu Feng after his youth had been restored and his body had undergone a great metamorphosis. This was practically the same person. The black yak was also astonished. A strange expression appeared on his face when he saw who it was. Naturally, the two of them made the connection and roughly guessed the specific situation. After that, Ouyang Feng was very excited. He didn't think of going over to greet his own people. Instead, He rubbed his palms together and muttered to himself, "Little bastard, seeing that you're the same as Chu Feng, this divine king is so excited that I'm about to tremble. I can't beat that freak, but can't I take care of you? I'll treat you as him and vent my anger by beating you up." Chu Feng stood at the peak of Mount Kunlun. His face immediately darkened when he heard Toad's words. As for young lady she was grinding her teeth. She had long wanted to make a move after being called a little bastard. "Toad, crawl over here! Wu Luanhui, you little fellow, dare to speak to this divine king like this. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. I'll beat you until you cry for your parents in a while." Boom! The battle between the two was rather intense. Clearly, young lady she was suppressing her realm. She was now an expert at the quasi-golden body realm, but in order to play the role of Chu Feng, she only displayed the strength of the early Cloud Eater realm. She still didn't know that Chu Feng was already at the mid-Cloud Eater realm. "Ah, it hurts. You actually set me on fire," Toad cried out strangely. Young lady she combined the flames and yang qi. It was rather terrifying. To the living beings in this universe, it was simply a calamity. If it was someone else, they would have been roasted halfway and would have long since collapsed. Kill. Ouyang Feng didn't believe in heresy and fought a great battle with her. He used the heavenly toad technique that he created himself and croaked continuously. He spat out a mouthful of innate essence qi with astonishing attack power. The battle between the two was intense, and it definitely wasn't a fake fight. It was like two bolts of lightning intertwining. When the two came into close contact, Toad opened his mouth and spat out saliva violently as he started to use his underhanded move. Of course, he also treated people differently. Looking at Wu Luanhui's rosy lips and white teeth, he pondered for a moment and knew that she was someone with mysophobia, so he spat out large mouthfuls of venom. Ah! Young lady she's beautiful face lost its color. She was quite shocked. Yang qi soared around her body, and a layer of astonishing light screen appeared. It blocked the saliva in a split second and evaporated the venom. "Disgusting toad, I'm going to roast you!" Young lady she shouted. After that, she used the phoenix breathing technique with a rumble and activated the Virokana fist. At this moment, the great sun's fiery light danced and the fist mark was like a rainbow. Young lady she actually became fierce and tyrannical. Her beautiful body was like a flood dragon as it soared across the sky. "Oh my, this little bastard is really powerful. I'll hit and I'll kill. This divine king must suppress you." But in the end, he was slapped off the peak of the heavenly vine by young lady she. He fell on the mountain top and foamed at the mouth. His limbs twitched and he was almost burned to a crisp. Toad was indignant and cursed in his heart. The opponent's last attack displayed energy that surpassed the Cloud Eater realm. "I refuse to accept this," Toad shouted. He felt that this wasn't a fair fight. "Shoo!" Chu Feng came over. He took out the reincarnation knife and placed it in his palm. "Even though I lost, I'll still give this to you." He was about to enter the starry sky and wanted to attend the meeting in damning Pure Land, so he couldn't bring this kind of thing with him. He would give himself away. "Elder sister, that fellow who seems to be Nyo is bullying me. Help me vent my anger." Toad's limbs twitched. At this moment, he just happened to see Yao Yao coming out of seclusion and walking over. He immediately complained. Yao Yao had been cultivating diligently recently and was itching to get back all the time she had lost. Her figure was graceful and her style was peerless. Every frown and smile could be said to be perfect. Her eyes were quick-witted and more profound than before. She was even more spirited and confident. She didn't care about Toad being taken care of. Instead, she stared at them and looked at Chu Feng, Yellow Cattle, Manchurian Tiger, and the Mastiff King. She muttered to herself, "I'm only in a soul state now. It's been a long time since I experienced the feeling of having a physical body." Then the group was scared. They felt that something wasn't right. Can I borrow someone's body? Yao Yao smiled. Her bright eyes made the group retreat. In the end, she chose Chu Feng and smiled sweetly. Elder sister, Yao Yao, my body is still very useful. You can't borrow it. Chu Feng fled at the speed of light. But Yao Yao was faster than him. She caught up in a flash, and a ball of spiritual light entered his head with a flash of light. She forced herself to experience it. The next moment, Toad, Yellow Cattle, Old Donkey, and the others felt their blood run cold because Chu Feng was graceful and graceful. She walked leisurely while looking at herself. Her posture was too bewitching. Chu Feng was about to cry. He couldn't control his body and had two consciousnesses. His ball of spiritual light was forcefully suppressed and he couldn't control his body. Yao Yao said, "Don't be anxious. I just had some enlightenment these few days and created a fist technique. It can only be used with the coordination of a physical body and blood qi. Otherwise, I wouldn't have snatched your body." Then, she developed a mysterious fist imprint on Mount Kunlun with peerless power. Whether it was Chu Feng, Yellow Cattle, or the others, they were all shocked. She had only been in seclusion for a few days, but she had already started to create a fist imprint and develop her own wonderful technique. The number 1 under the starry skies was really terrifying. It wasn't just words. Moo, on the heavenly vine, the big black yak was roaring. Clearly, he had suffered a great loss. Then, with a bang, his whole body emitted black smoke. He fell from mid-air and smashed into the mountain top, creating a huge pit. "Chu Feng, come out. Wu Luanhui is here. Do you dare to fight me?" challenged young Lady Shi. At this moment, the people in the outer realms were alarmed. Someone wanted to challenge Chu Feng. This was big news, and everyone paid attention to it. Whoosh! The extremely bewitching Chu Feng appeared on the peak of the heavenly vine in a flash. He had a brilliant smile on his face, but his steps weren't masculine enough. He walked forward in a very light and agile manner. "Chu Feng, right? There's nothing much to say. I've specially come to teach you a lesson today. Come over and pay your respects." Wu Luanhui's little face was in a complete mess, but now she deliberately put on an arrogant appearance. Chu Feng complained bitterly in his heart. He really wanted to say, "Young Lady Shi, don't be too arrogant and tyrannical. The one you're provoking isn't me, but another elder sister. Yes, why aren't you coming over to pay your respects? Are you waiting for me to personally teach you a lesson?" Young Lady Shi was bossy. After that, a bewitching smile appeared on Chu Feng's face. As his body swayed, his footsteps were soundless as he walked over in a rather graceful manner. "No, it's full of demonic and ghastly aura. Evildoer Chu Feng, hand over your life," shouted young Lady Shi. Her intuition was very sensitive. She felt that something was wrong. The current Chu Feng was even denser than before, so much so that it was somewhat frightening. She decisively made her move. Boom! A great battle broke out. However, Chu Feng's performance was too stunning. He moved his body nimbly, and every time he did it was wonderful to the extreme. His combat skills were full of artistry and his combat talents were too terrifying. He didn't waste any extra strength. All kinds of methods were the most suitable. He was like an antelope hanging its horn without a trace, and his skills were close to protecting the path. After that, young Lady Shi was shocked. She had also fought with Chu Feng in the past, but now she found that his style had completely changed. She felt that he wasn't the same person. "Chu Feng, you're bewitching and obviously abnormal. Are you still a man?" she scolded softly. Of course, she didn't dare to scold him loudly. She was afraid that someone from the outer realms would spy on them and reveal the secret. In reality, the one who attacked now was Yao Yao. She used a method to make the heavenly vines pervade with primal chaos mist so that the outside world couldn't spy on them. After that, Chu Feng's corporeal body moved swiftly and decisively. He made a graceful turn and attacked with full of spirituality. With a bang, he kicked young lady Xi's buttocks lightly. Aya! Young lady Xi was hit. She didn't feel any pain because the other party clearly didn't use any strength. However, this was close to flirting. It made her unhappy and a black line appeared on her fair face. Surnamed Chu, you dare to profane me? Young lady Xi was angry. Swoosh. When she turned around again, her speed increased by a large margin. She used the Yang Realm's secret technique. It wasn't limited to the Virokana fist but also other wonderful techniques. With a rumble, Yang Qi surged and attacked the primal chaos mist that had just pervaded the air. Its power was terrifying. At this moment, Yellow Cattle, Ouyang Feng, the Black Yak, the Old Donkey, and the others came up to watch the battle. However, such a terrifying divine technique and peerlessly exquisite Yang Realm technique couldn't do anything to Chu Feng, who was possessed by Yao Yao. At this moment, he was like a banished immortal, elegant and otherworldly. Her footwork was unfathomable. After a few flashes, she arrived at young lady Xi's side. She used her finger to lightly flick her fair face and brushed past her. Chu Feng, how dare you? Young lady Xi was humiliated and angry. She was being flirted with in public. When did Chu Feng become so terrifying and powerful? One had to know that she used energy that surpassed the Cloud Eater level. However, the real Chu Feng wanted to cry. He really wasn't flirting with her, but Yao Yao was making a move. Especially since he didn't have control of his body. He didn't feel anything when he kicked her butt or flicked her pretty face. He wanted to say that it was fine if he did it, but the key point was that he didn't. Elder sister, Yao Yao, stop fooling around. You can test your wonderful technique here, but I'll be the scapegoat in the future. This black pot is too big, and I can't carry it. Chu Feng's spiritual light ball flickered in his body. He strongly requested that this couldn't continue. Chu Feng, I'll fight it out with you. At this moment, young lady Xi bared her fangs and brandished her claws. Her Yang Realm divine technique completely erupted, and she used energy at the quasi-golden Arhat level to fight a decisive battle with him. At this moment, Yao Yao was very interested. She was researching the Yang Realm divine technique, and couldn't return control of her body to Chu Feng. She kicked young lady Xi's butt again and forced her to display all her wonderful techniques for her to ponder. Chapter 754. Who touched your butt? He wouldn't admit it even if he was beaten to death because he didn't feel it at all. Chu Feng really wanted to shout this out because he felt too wronged. He couldn't understand what exactly that feeling was. However, Yao Yao, who was controlling his body, was laughing. Chu Feng's face matched Yao Yao's temperament. That was truly bewitching. Young lady Xi was furious. She really wanted to beat him to death when she saw him smiling so charmingly and ambiguously. She was so angry that her Yang Qi surged and exploded. I'm so angry. Surnamed Chu, you pervert, you scoundrel, hand over your life quickly. Young lady Xi was angry. She used all kinds of top-notch techniques from the Yang realm, especially when she displayed her divine skills. They were truly boundlessly profound. Yao Yao was delighted to see her prey. The more she pondered and studied, the happier she became. It was even more impossible for this battle to end quickly. Just like that, she touched young lady Xi's flushed face one moment and pulled off her sparkling ears the next. Of course, she couldn't avoid giving her a light kick. In short, she did all kinds of provocations to make the young lady from the Yang realm angry. Yao Yao, let me do it, shouted Chu Feng. He could already imagine the final result. He was bound to be a scapegoat and wouldn't be able to escape no matter what. But he hadn't done anything bad at all. It was too unjust. Therefore, he didn't want to be wronged anymore. Yao Yao's spiritual light ball looked down on him from within his body. She decisively ignored him and continued to suppress him as she did her own thing. Then, a series of screams came from the top of the heavenly vine. Young lady, she risked her life and almost exerted the power of a golden Arhat, but it was useless. she still couldn't beat him. She displayed all kinds of divine skills, but her butt was still kicked and her nose was pinched. Her fine black hair was also kneaded into a mess and almost turned into a bird's nest. Chu Feng, how dare you treat me like this? Young lady, she ground her teeth. She roused her astonishing energy and attacked continuously. Yang Qi shrouded the area as the battle intensified. Not far away, a group of people looked at each other in dismay. They were also suspicious. Was this done by Chu Feng or Princess Yao? No matter who it was, the fun would certainly be big. The primal chaos in this area was hazy, and people from the outer realms couldn't see it because it was isolated by Yao Yao. An hour later, Yao Yao had studied all the divine techniques that young lady she had mastered. After that, she floated far away. When she left, she didn't make a sound and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Of course, she still did one thing before she left, and that was to seal young lady Shi to the Cloud Eater level. She was afraid that she wouldn't be able to withstand Chu Feng's true body when he went into battle. In addition, she also commented, "It feels good." Chu Feng's face turned green on the spot. Even if he jumped into the Yellow River, he wouldn't be able to clear his name. What should he do? As expected, young lady Shi was driven mad. What followed was simply a torrential downpour. All kinds of secret techniques bombarded over, almost blasting Chu Feng to the ground. "Stop, this really has nothing to do with me." Chu Feng finally opened his mouth and shouted. He really wanted to say that he had no idea what that feeling was like. In the end, young lady Shi's face darkened and her expression became increasingly unsightly. She was even angrier than before. She gritted her teeth and said, "You pervert, you're really something. Now you actually want to shirk all responsibility. Go to hell." Clearly, young lady Shi was embarrassed and angry to a certain extent. She was even crazier than before and attacked him with all kinds of wonderful technique. Her combat power soared and was many times fiercer than before. "So bitter!" Chu Feng wailed. "Surnamed Chu, you coward. You dare to do it but don't dare to admit it. I'll beat you to death." Young lady Shi's face turned crimson. She thought about how her buttocks, ears, and face were attacked not long ago, but this guy in front of her didn't admit it in the blink of an eye. It was really infuriating. In the Yang realm, no one dared to blaspheme her. Because of her status, people of the same age didn't dare to raise their heads and look her in the eye. Today was really outrageous. Chu Feng's face was bitter. He felt even more wronged than Do Yi. He really didn't feel good. He clearly didn't experience it personally, but in the end, such a big black pot fell on him. "Little Shi, listen to me. There's a huge misunderstanding here. Just now, a fairy sister appeared and I was possessed by her." In reality, Chu Feng really wanted to say that there was a two-faced sister who forcefully broke into his body, but he didn't dare to say it in the end. Because this kind of explanation was already so lame. Who would believe it? At the very least, if someone else explained it to him like this, he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. As expected, young lady Shi sneered and said, "Pretend, keep pretending. Even the fairy sister has appeared. Why don't you say that a princess borrowed your body?" "She really is a princess," Chu Feng braced himself and said. "I'll hit him." Young lady Shi was extremely angry. She was really scared and her heart was about to burst. She had never seen such a shameless person. He obviously did everything, but he didn't admit it to her face and even said such nonsense. She was really stimulated to the point that her yang energy was burning and her eyes were red. She displayed her combat strength beyond her normal level and performed the Vairocana fist to perfection. She was like a female bodhisattva, standing in a golden sun and attacking powerful enemies. After a while, her fist light cut through the sky and lightning appeared everywhere. Another divine skill was also raised to the limit by her. Following that, Her family's secret art was even more powerful. She was like a young goddess bathed in divine light and enveloped in a dazzling divine halo as she fought a decisive battle with Chu Feng. "I'm wronged," Chu Feng wailed. If it wasn't for his recent tribulation on Earth which further increased his strength, he might have been suppressed by young lady she who was at the same level as him. "Are you all dead? Is there no one who will stand out to prove it for me?" Chu Feng was quite angry and looked at Ouyang Feng, the old donkey and the Manchurian tiger. The big black yak immediately said, "Brother, stop fighting. We're all on the same side." The old donkey also bared his buck teeth and was about to call out hee-haw, but after seeing Chu Feng's murderous gaze, he immediately changed his words and said, "Ah, brother, stop. Let sister-in-law hit you a few times. Husband and wife fighting at the head of the bed and reconciling at the end of the bed. This is nothing." These two people called out and Chu Feng was almost angered to death. How could they persuade him like this? The more he tried to blacken things up, the more he couldn't clear his name now. He really wanted to beat these two people up. As expected, young lady Xi's emotions fluctuated more and more violently. After being molested, that person still didn't admit it and didn't repent. Her beautiful eyes were like golden lamps, terrifyingly bright. The battle became more and more intense. "Little sister-in-law, do your best. Suppress Demon Chu, I support you." Ouyang Toad was also watching the show and didn't mind the matter getting bigger. That was because he had come back to his senses now and felt that he had been tricked by Chu Feng. That fellow was originally going to Damring Pure Land and couldn't bring this knife with him. In the end, he still used him like this and caused him to be beaten up. Now, he naturally hoped that Chu Feng and young lady Xi would fight to the death and both sides would suffer. They called out like this because they weren't worried that the outer realms would discover any clues. This place was shrouded in primal chaos mist and was isolated from the outside world. In the end, Chu Feng was forced into a corner and really kicked the young lady's butt. He muttered to himself for some reason, "How bouncy!" Then, he decisively ran away. "Come back, Chu Feng. Demon Chu, I'll fight it out with you." Young lady Xi shouted and was so angry that her whole body was trembling. No one had ever hit her in her entire life and today she was actually repeatedly offended. Even though they were all light kicks, she still couldn't stand it. After that, the outer realms exploded. After the two of them ran out of Mount Kunlun and weren't covered by the primal chaos mist, the people in the outer realms knew that the two of them were fighting. There was still someone who dared to challenge Demon King Chu at such a juncture? Even though it seemed that Wu Luanhui had suffered a loss and was flustered and exasperated, it was still shocking for him to continue chasing like this. One had to know that Chu Feng's notoriety had spread throughout the universe. It was unknown how many saints' sons and saintesses he had sold from various races. There wasn't a single person in the entire starry skies who didn't know about him. Strange, this notorious human trafficker is actually being chased by someone. I'm not seeing things, am I? Are you stupid? How could that human trafficker suffer a loss? He must have snatched something from Wu Luanhui and gained a huge advantage, so he ran away. Can't you see that Wu Luanhui's little face has turned green? One had to admit that young lady Xi's tenacity and flexibility coexisted. She had chased Chu Feng for no less than 2 hours and shocked countless cultivators from various races in the outer realms. How could such a savage demon King Chu be chased by someone? Impossible. At first, many people didn't believe it. After that, everyone unanimously guessed that great demon King Chu must have seized some kind of great fortune from Wu Luanhui and was currently making the best use of his time to digest and absorb it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have run away with a clear conscience. After another hour, the great pursuit came to an end. Those two people seemed to be in an intense negotiation. Unfortunately, it was covered by the primal chaos mist again. No one could see clearly because Yao Yao appeared at the crucial moment. If she didn't mediate, Chu Feng would have been wrongly accused to death. Young lady, she was fuming. She glared at Yao Yao with her big eyes and roused her yang qi. She deliberately attacked Yao Yao's yin qi soul and puffed up her cheeks in provocation. She was extremely humiliated, angry, and unconvinced. A living soul from the yang realm with a corporeal body. Not bad. Yes, it's barely enough for me to take over. Yao Yao's charm was exceptional. She gracefully circled around young lady Shi and intimidated her with the tone of a matchless banshee. In a split second, young lady Shi stopped shouting. She was somewhat afraid because she knew the cause and effect. She had already personally experienced how powerful this woman was and how ridiculously powerful her soul was. At this moment, she was really afraid of being taken over. From her point of view, everyone in this universe was a ghost, especially this woman. Her beauty was unreal and almost dreamlike, but her yin qi was also whooshing, making her hair stand on end. Qi. A dazzling rain of light blossomed. Yao Yao really broke into young lady Shi's body and personally felt the difference in the yang realm's body. Only her incomparably powerful soul dared to do this. If an ordinary person tried this, they would certainly be burned to ashes by the yang qi. Oh my, I'm possessed by a ghost. Save me, Chu Feng, save me. I blamed you wrongly before. Young lady, she was terrified. She was really afraid that Yao Yao would take over her body. Chu Feng was speechless. He had said all kinds of good things, but this girl from the Yang realm didn't listen and was going to fight to the death with him. Why was she afraid after Yao Yao scared her a little? He could only shake his head. It seemed that women understood women the best and women were the best at subduing women. When Yao Yao left her body while giggling, young lady she ran to Chu Feng's back with a whoosh and hugged his arm. She had a lingering fear in her heart and stared at Yao Yao with her big eyes. She was cautious and on guard. All right, the misunderstanding has been cleared up. You guys can discuss how to enter damning Pure Land. Yao Yao was all smiles and was about to go into seclusion again. When Chu Feng and young lady she appeared again, the fight was very intense. Of course, this was a fake fight and they couldn't really fight with their lives on the line. Moreover, they were shouting that this was a fair fight and no one was allowed to interfere. Later on, the people in the outer realms were shocked. Was this Wu Luanhui so heaven-defying? He dared to fight with Chu Feng at such a young age, and the battle wasn't short either. After several hundred rounds of fighting, Wu Luanhui was defeated. He turned around and entered the outer realms. In the end, Wu Luanhui perched on the top of the heavenly vine and threatened to fight with Chu Feng again to determine who was superior and who was inferior. This was definitely a major event. Currently, there were powerhouses living in seclusion on Earth, causing the saint children and goddesses of every race to run away. Almost none of them were left behind, and the top 10 were no exception. Under such a big background, Demon Chu could be said to be infamous. Who would dare to challenge him at the moment? But this Wu Luanhui was so courageous that he dared to do so. Moreover, he hadn't been defeated yet. He could fight Demon Chu to the death, and it was fairly intense. Therefore, every race in the universe was shocked. It wasn't far from being the center of attention. There was an uproar in the starry skies and every major origin beast platform was boiling over. On that day, a sparkling and translucent chariot from damning Pure Land appeared outside Earth. It was pulled by 4 celestial horses. One of them had golden hair, one was densely covered in green dragon scales, one was snow white and shiny, and one was curled up with scarlet light. All of them were incomparably spirited. Someone at the Golden Arhat level personally acted as a messenger to send a message for Wu Luanhui. Damning Pure Land invited him to attend a meeting soon to participate in the fight for a great fortune. Moreover, the messenger delivered a golden invitation card on the spot. Needless to say, this was a VIP invitation card grandly issued by Damning Pure Land. Up until now, only a few hundred young talents in the entire universe had received this kind of invitation card. This was an extremely high honor. Apart from Chu Feng, he was also invited at that time and was also sent a golden invitation card. In the end, it was declared invalid. Qin Luoyin personally said that he was an unwelcome person and didn't have the qualifications to enter damning Pure Land. This really made Chu Feng lose a lot of face. Now they came to Earth again and the invitation they sent wasn't for Chu Feng. This really made a group of people in the outer realms discuss passionately. Those who were watching the liveliness didn't mind the matter getting bigger as they discussed it one after another. Chu Feng stood out and began to challenge them. People of damning Pure Land, what do you mean? Do you think I'm not qualified? I'm telling you clearly, young Master Chu is angry that you're targeting me like this. I'll definitely kill my way in, overturn your Pure Land, and seize your greatest fortune. In the end, this so-called distinguished meeting was prepared for me. Chu Feng, Demon Chu, don't think too much about it. You're not allowed to enter my damning Pure Land in this lifetime. We've invited geniuses from all walks of life in the universe and many outstanding talent. Only you don't have the qualifications. We won't send you an invitation card. That golden Arhat emissary sat on the carriage with an arrogant expression as he ridiculed Chu Feng. He said that even if they didn't give him an invitation, what could he do? Good. Just you wait, I'll definitely pay a visit and charge in, shouted Chu Feng. The golden Arhat emissary from damning Pure Land revealed a disdainful smile and said, You're indeed very strong and very impressive, but do you really dare to come? Our damning Pure Land's doors are wide open. I'll see how you dare to attend the meeting. Just you wait. These two words from Chu Feng shook the starry skies. Ha! The emissary from damning Pure Land set off with a string of loud laughter. He shook his head and didn't say anything. That kind of attitude was enough to explain everything. Go back and tell Qin Luoyin to take good care of the fetus. Chu Feng was indignant and shouted at the end. Chapter 755. Those streaming platforms and illegal workshops in the outer realm, pack up and leave immediately. You're not allowed to peep. Chu Feng's voice was rather cold as he shouted to the outside world. Now Earth is ranked 10th. It's not a place you can come and go as you please. I'm warning you, whoever doesn't follow the rules, be prepared to bear the wrath of Earth. I'll serve you with the demonic ancestral cauldron. Chu Feng's words became more and more impolite as he warned and drove them away. Everyone in the outer realm thought that he was in a bad mood because he hadn't received the damning Pure Land's golden invitation. He was using the platforms as a punching bag. However, everyone was still in awe because what Chu Feng said was the truth. Once a planet's civilization level reached a certain level, the outside world couldn't peep in at will. This was a sign of respect for the life on that planet. So much so that they had to report in advance if they wanted to enter that planet. As such, the platforms under the Origin Beast platform and the Black Blood Arena immediately withdrew their clairvoyance and stopped monitoring. Of course, there were also those who didn't listen to the dissuasion. For instance, some of the smaller platforms felt that this was a rare opportunity to attract attention. The Origin Beasts and Black Blood had retreated, which meant that this planet was a vacuum to the outside world. Now, Earth would often become the focus of attention, a hot topic that often attracted the attention of the whole world. If they seized the opportunity and continued to report and broadcast, then their platforms would definitely be bursting with popularity. On Eternal Island in the Eastern Sea, the Black Yak, Ouyang Feng, and Yellow Cattle could control the demonic ancestral cauldron. After activating the demon eye on Mount Eternal, they scanned the outer realm. They immediately discovered that there were still 3 platforms that hadn't retreated and had left behind their clairvoyance to monitor. The so-called clairvoyance was left behind by the almighty clairvoyance expert after he passed away. Every clairvoyance eye was priceless, and ordinary orthodoxies couldn't afford it. Chu Feng's face darkened. I'm giving you a final warning. The desolate platform, demon platform, and imperial path platform, scram as far as you can. You've just risen in rank and you're already so overbearing. You're a typical nouveau riche. This starry sky belongs to everyone and is a public area. What's wrong with placing a clairvoyance eye? Some people said strange things, unwilling to leave. It was obvious that they were unwilling to leave due to their own interests. They felt that the earth had just risen and its foundation was still unstable. It was far from being as unfathomable as the outside world imagined. They had grasped the heavenly eye and could monitor all kinds of activities on the earth's surface in the first place. They knew that there were no more saints now. The three almighty beings were in a special state and wouldn't make a move. You think you're justified in peeping? You came to someone else's house to be a thief, yet you're still speaking so righteously. Don't you feel disgusted? The Manchurian tiger berated angrily. The old donkey also shouted, hee-haw, no, grandsons, are you looking to die? A bunch of shameless peeping toms. Come over if you have the guts, Grandpa Donkey will teach you how to behave. In the end, out of the three forces that remained in the outer space, only the great desolate platform retreated. The demon platform and the Emperor Tao platform continued on their own, refusing to leave. This caused a group of people on Earth to be furious. They really couldn't stand encountering such a rogue company. They secretly took photos and spied on an entire planet. It was really shameless. No matter who it was, no one was willing to be spied on all day long. What privacy was there to speak of? Chu Feng was still alright. He had a stone box on him that could conceal his aura. Even the heavenly eye couldn't capture his traces. As for the group of great demons from Kunlun, they were unhappy. Unless they stayed in Mount Eternal, they would be watched at all times as soon as they came out. Don't you have any shame? Are you going to peep when this divine king goes to the toilet? Ouyang Feng exploded. Ask the demonic ancestral cauldron to exterminate them, said the big black yak with a black face. They had been staying on Eternal Island for the past few months, far away from the world of mortals. They were almost suffocated. It wasn't easy for them to become masters and move around, yet they still didn't have anyone spying on them. They were as unhappy as they could be. The demonic ancestral cauldron emitted a mechanical voice, telling them that there wasn't enough energy. They couldn't squander it anymore and needed to slowly absorb the energy between heaven and earth. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy to attack the next time the enemy invaded. What do you mean there's not enough? Quite a few heaven illuminators exploded last time. We saw it clearly. You absorbed a large amount of essence. In reality, the demon platform and imperial platform's heavenly eye in the starry sky had been withdrawn far enough to be on guard. They were afraid that Earth would suddenly attack them. In fact, there was a deeper reason why they dared to do this. Someone was instigating them to probe the Earth's actual situation. To some of the great powers in the depths of the universe, this was a rare opportunity to observe what the Earth was like in the end. Was it fat or really not to be provoked? The rise of any new power wouldn't be very smooth. The established powers and sects would obstruct or even counterattack. They were unwilling to have their vested interests snatched away by the latecomers. Simple, I'll go. Yao Yao was alarmed and immediately communicated with the demonic ancestral cauldron telepathically. In the end, she picked up the large cauldron and left. She cut through the icy cold outer space with incomparable power. She was like this in ancient times. She never compromised and was very domineering even as a woman. She fought against the entire starry sky's genius alone. Now, not only had her soul completely recovered, but it was also increasing sharply. The nirvana elixir was too tyrannical. It was a peerless great medicine that allowed one's spirit to undergo nirvana. TSK, how is it? There's no movement from the earth, right? I knew it. They're just fat. It's clearly illogical for them to suddenly jump to the 10th place in the universe. Yes, that's true. There's something wrong with the powerhouses. The Earth lacks a central power and its foundation is too weak. In fact, it's far from being as strong as we imagined. That's right. The Demon Platform and the Imperial Tao Platform are already provoking them, yet they're powerless. Many people were discussing in the starry sky. They felt that the Earth was very weak and didn't seem as terrifying as they imagined. As for the Demon Platform and the Imperial Tao Platform, they were even more unbridled. Each of them mobilized 2 heaven's eyes to monitor all parts of the Earth. In particular, they tried to lock onto Yellow Cattle, Ouyang Feng, and the Black Yak. If they could, they also wanted to lock onto Chu Feng. This was indeed somewhat disgusting. They were deliberately targeting him. As long as one logged onto their platforms, they could see bits and pieces about Yellow Cattle, the Manchurian Tiger, and the others. Moreover, they even said that they were looking for special methods to capture Chu Feng on camera so that everyone could see how he cultivated. The Demon Platform, the Imperial Tao Platform, you're really courting death. Chu Feng spoke on the Origin Beast Platform. Chu Feng, Demon King Chu, you're used to being tyrannical. You still don't allow others to place 2 heaven's eyes in outer space? Not long ago there were so many such facilities outside the Earth. Even the Earth allowed people to come and go as they pleased. Why can't it be done now? People can't forget their roots. The Earth has just recovered, yet you can't wait to set up rules and regulations for us. That's too much. We're just casually filming something. The words of these 2 platforms were rather disrespectful. Then there was no then. That was because Yao Yao had entered outer space with the large cauldron in her hand. When she arrived at her destination, she immediately kicked several heaven's eyes into pieces. The golden arhats guarding this place were all killed. Not a single one was left, and they all exploded into a bloody mist. The saints had already run into the primal chaos. Golden arhats could already intimidate a region, but they weren't enough in front of Yao Yao. The last scene captured by the 2 platforms was a snow-white, spotless, jade-like foot ostentatiously and tyrannically kicking open their heaven's eyes, destroying most of their net worth. Ah! The people in charge of the 2 platforms felt their hearts bleeding. However, the matter wasn't over yet. Yao Yao didn't enter the starry sky with the cauldron to blast open a few heaven's eyes. Instead, she wanted to go to their headquarters. The demon ancestors' cauldron tore open the universe's space and opened a wormhole. It attacked twice in succession and arrived at the headquarters of the 2 platforms. Boom! On this day, a terrifying energy cloud soared, followed by a blazing radiance, and then a violent explosion. It was boundlessly terrifying as an annihilation event occurred. On this day, the Demon Platform and the Imperial Platform were forever removed from their names. Their headquarters were blown up, and the so-called experts there didn't even have the chance to attack. They were completely vaporized and vanished from the face of the Earth. The starry sky was shaken. The evolvers of Earth attacked too decisively and fiercely. With just these 2 attacks, all the major powers in the universe became well-behaved. Many evolver sects shut their mouths, and no one questioned them anymore. In particular, after learning that Yao Yao was personally taking action, everyone was speechless. They thought of her peerless elegance from ancient times. Was she going to resurrect and return again? The hearts of every race trembled, especially the evolvers of the same era as Yao Yao. Even though their current statuses were lofty, they still felt apprehensive and their scalps went numb. The entire world became quiet. No one dared to provoke or peep at them anymore. The big black yak ran to the Tibetan plateau to find the historical traces left behind by the green yak's first love. The old donkey Lu Feiyang went to Mount Lu to recite poems and paint. Meanwhile, Ouyang the toad went to the heavenly lake to take a bath. He was sprawled out on his back and wasn't afraid of being secretly photographed. "Everyone, you're too cowardly. Who will come to Earth to fight shoulder to shoulder with me against Demon King Chu and the others? Is there a need to retreat? Young Lady Shi, who was also Wu Luanhui, spoke from the top of the heavenly vine. She called upon the evolvers of the universe to come to Earth and fight Demon King Chu with her. When the divine sons and saintesses of every race retreated and didn't dare to stay on Earth for long, she was so powerful that she attracted a lot of people's attention. She gave rise to a lot of heated discussions. I've made an agreement with Chu Feng to have a fair battle. We'll each lead a young troop. Both sides will fight a decisive battle. Life and death will be determined by fate. We won't rely on external objects or elders. Do you dare to fight shoulder to shoulder with me and fight Demon King Chu of Earth? Shouted Wu Luanhui. Young lady, she summoned people on the Origin Beast platform, Black Blood, and other famous platforms. She gathered people from all over the starry skies to join her in exterminating Chu Feng. Just as she said, she had indeed made an agreement with Chu Feng, but the essence and meaning were completely different. The two of them discussed how they would trick their enemies in the starry skies before they left. Whoever dared to come would be eliminated. What was this about conquering Earth? This was naturally a big trap. In the starry skies, every race was discussing this. Even though many people hated Chu Feng, they were very cautious. They didn't get hot-headed and follow her. However, this kind of summon was still very effective. Some people's killing intent and fighting spirit were aroused. They cried out and wanted to fight shoulder to shoulder with Wu Luanhui. After all, Wu Luanhui hadn't been eliminated even after such a torment. It seemed that the people on Earth still kept their promises and were indeed fighting fairly. Wu Luanhui emphasized once again and said, "Everyone, I've fought Demon King Chu to a draw several times. The main reason is that there are people overseeing the battle on their side. They've distracted me. Who will help me? If someone follows me to battle, I'll have no distractions. I'll definitely eliminate Demon King Chu. Let's go and kill Demon King Chu. Everyone, let's go together." In the end, they formed an allied army. There were deathsworn from the deity race, hot-blooded youths from the Shilin clan, and pirates from the cosmos. There were all kinds of characters. Dreams were plentiful, but reality was bone-chilling. It could even be said that reality was too cruel and tragic. Such a large group of people came to invade and fight against the younger generation of Earth. The final outcome was truly tragic. Wu Luanhui was locked in battle with Chu Feng. He broke away from the team and charged into the seabed. The others were blocked by Ouyang Toad, Yellow Cattle, and the innocuous Ox demonic divine physique. It was a decisive battle. In reality, Chu Feng and Wu Luanhui killed their way back together after confirming that there were no heaven's eyes in outer space monitoring them. They massacred that group of people. Chapter 756. Of course, such a complicated team wasn't completely annihilated. For example, there were those who were seriously injured in the battle and fainted early, as well as the individual evolvers who were scattered and chased into the deep mountains and forests. This was what Chu Feng requested to stay behind. It was a bit unjustifiable if the whole team was annihilated and only Wu Luanhui escaped. Then Wu Luanhui appeared. This time, it was Chu Feng himself who recovered his true body. He appeared to be 14 or 15 years old, and his true appearance appeared as the pseudonymous Wu Luanhui. At this moment, he was bathed in blood, as he fought and spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Half of his body was dyed red as he rescued those who were still alive. He used the spirit binding rope to carry a string of people and 2 people under his armpit. He fought fiercely with his opponents and brought them away from Earth. When the people who had fainted woke up and those who had fallen into a hopeless situation were rescued, all of their eyes turned red. Their emotions surged and they were exceptionally moved. A heaven-gifted youth with a bright future was fighting with his life on the line. He was covered in blood as he risked his life to save them from Earth. This was indeed a great favor. These people had escaped from a dead end and their emotions were almost out of control. They saluted the current Chu Feng, who was Wu Luanhui, and some even choked with sobs. Brother, words can't express my gratitude. If you need my help in the future, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll go through water and tread on fire, even if I have to die 10,000 times. Someone said with a weak voice. Another boorish man said with red eyes, Brother Wu, my life was saved by you. Come to my deity race in the future and I'll definitely repay you generously. These people were able to survive because they had been observed earlier. Relatively speaking, they were loyal enough. Even the enemy had to admit that there were evolvers with good character among them. Therefore, they survived and Chu Feng didn't harm their lives. At this moment, Chu Feng said with a righteous expression, How can I repay a person who saved me? This time, it's all my fault. I called everyone to come to Earth to fight, but I didn't expect the enemy to be so ferocious. Although I can block this demon Chu Feng, I didn't expect the other natives to be so powerful. After these words were spoken, the dozen or so people who survived were ashamed. Someone lowered his head and said, We're the ones who dragged Brother Wu down. We didn't help you block Great Demon Chu's claws. Unfortunately, the immortal destiny physique and the winged godhead didn't come. That's right. Back then, so many saints and goddesses came to Earth in search of fortunes, but now they've all fled. If the top-ranked young outstanding talents are willing to come and fight alongside Brother Wu, Demon King Chu Feng will definitely lose. Chu Feng looked up at the sky and said with a heavy expression, It's all my fault. I shouldn't have called all of you here. Fellow Taoists, please don't say any more. Brother Wu, you are too kind. Just the fact that you disregarded your own safety to save us is enough to explain everything. Don't blame yourself, otherwise we will feel very ashamed. A group of people surrounded Chu Feng and shouted loudly, saying that this was a friendship of life and death. In the future, when he went to the starry sky, he must find them. Alright, you guys can leave. I'll sneak into Earth to see if there are any brothers still alive. If I can, I'll save some more people. Brother Wu, you can't go anymore. Great Demon Chu is black-hearted and merciless. Once you fall into his hands, the consequences will be unthinkable. I heard that not only is he a human trafficker, but he also likes to eat roasted human flesh. When Chu Feng heard this, he cursed inwardly. Who the hell spread this? It was fine if they ruined his reputation. He admitted that he was a human trafficker. However, the latter words were pure slander. With such false rumors spreading, he couldn't avoid becoming a demon even if he didn't want to. Don't persuade me anymore. I've already made up my mind. Those people on Earth are very arrogant now and their defenses are inadequate. Besides, even if I'm discovered, at worst, I'll fight them again, said Chu Feng. After that, he turned around and left. He charged toward that azure planet from the outer realms. Brother Wu is benevolent and righteous. Brother Wu is truly supremely righteous. The group of people at the back cheered loudly with tears brimming in their eyes. Wu Luanhui was only risking his life to save his comrades and entering the tiger's den again. What kind of noble character was this? The reason why Chu Feng returned was because he wanted to carry out his final farewell. None of the dozen or so people from the outer realms left. They wanted to wait for him to return alive. During this process, they didn't stay idle either. They informed their respective clans and also logged into some well-known large platforms to talk about Wu Luanhui's supremely righteous character. Of course, they didn't dare to say that Wu Luanhui had entered Earth again now. They had to help him keep it a secret for the time being. Supremely righteous King Luanhui. He's worthy of being a king among the young powerhouses under the starry skies. Even though he's young, he has heaven-warping talents. Give him another 10 years, and who in this generation can contend against him? For a moment, the entire starry skies knew about Wu Luanhui's benevolence and righteousness. Chu Feng ran back to Kunlun and saw the Black Yak, Zhou Quan, Old Donkey, and the others checking their spoils of war. Young lady, she immediately cried out when she saw him and wanted to leave. However, Chu Feng didn't agree. Her yang qi was too vigorous. If she really entered damning Pure Land, she would definitely be exposed and would probably be dissected for research. Then how about I let you leave Earth? She looked pitiful as she glanced at a certain valley in Kunlun. Very soon, Yao Yao's voice came from there. She invited her to be a guest here to research secret techniques and explore the Yang realm's divine skills together. I think we can carry out a complete operation on the immortal bird race's incomplete breathing technique. Yes, I've recently completed the missing parts of the first few realms. Yao Yao's talent was simply terrifying. But young lady Xi's little face turned green after hearing this. She didn't want to stay even if she was beaten to death. The reason why she wanted to leave was because she was afraid of this outrageously beautiful ghost. However, she was still left behind in the end. Furthermore, she had to live in Kunlun for a long time to avoid her identity being seen through in the outside world. Ugh, I'm so miserable. Young lady, she wailed. At the same time, the toad also let out a long howl. I also want to enter the starry sky. I want to go to damning Pure Land to participate in the distinguished meeting. I want to comprehend 100 years in a dream. After that, he went into seclusion because he wanted to transform from his toad form into another form of a divine beast. Otherwise, he would definitely be beaten to death if he entered the starry sky in this form. In reality, ever since he used the demonic ancestral cauldron to temper his body and soul and cleanse his curse, he had already obtained the inheritance imprint in his blood and knew what to do next. On that day, he began to spin a cocoon and sank into silence. No one knew what he would become. According to Yao Yao, this kind of transformation would take a month. Obviously, Chu Feng couldn't wait for him and set off first. Yellow Cattle, the big Black Yak, and the others were very envious of him. They also wanted to enter the starry sky to attend the meeting, but their characteristics were too obvious. They would be recognized as soon as they left Earth. I'll leave Penglai, Yingzhou, and Fangzhong to you guys. Practice to your heart's content and temper yourselves. After so many years of accumulation, there must be good things there, said Chu Feng. The blood of the innocuous divine physique created Brother Ox. There's still the origin magnetic sacred physique left. You guys can discuss it later and see whose physique is suitable. Then, you can take his origin magnetic sacred blood medicine and create another kind of unequaled physique. Chu Feng reminded them not to forget. As for the blood medicine refined from the myriad star physique, it was left for Yao Yao. She could completely reappear in the world when she gathered the 9 orifices tribulation flower and the heavenly mandate fruit. At the same time, Chu Feng told everyone that he would strive to get rid of a few more divine physiques and Tao physiques when he entered the starry sky. He would refine them into blood medicine and bring them back for them. I'll set a small goal for myself first. I'll collect all kinds of so-called unequaled physiques and refine blood medicine. I'll let our brothers exchange their blood and replace them. In reality, Chu Feng himself also had the azure divine blood and had been comprehending it recently. I'm so miserable. Sister Yao Yao, you've misunderstood me. I'm very willing to stay and communicate with you, said young lady Xi, ignoring her conscience. The reason why she was somewhat conflicted was mainly because she was afraid of this ghost. Her innate talent was simply terrifying. She herself was very proud, but she was always abused here. Before Chu Feng left Earth, he still had time to see some old friends, such as the old man Lu Tong, the former housekeeper of the Hollow Jade Temple. Chu Feng gave the old man a pile of evolution medicine and invited him to Kunlun. The old man was very good to Chu Feng and had helped him a lot. When the master of the Hollow Jade Temple was dealing with Chu Feng, he resolutely withdrew from the mutant organization and secretly helped Chu Feng. Afterward, Chu Feng went to see Du Huijin, the clairaudient Ouyang Qing, and Yi Qingru. Naturally, he also gave them mutant fruits. Conveniently, Chu Feng also went to find the Peacock King and the Nine Lives Cat King. In the end, he found that they had disappeared. News said that they had left with the Outer Realm Saint Children and fled far away. Little White Tiger also left? Chu Feng was surprised to see that Lu Shiyan's brother, the White Tiger King, actually knew about this situation. No wonder he hadn't heard from her for a long time. The four mutants, Vajra, Silver Wing, White Tiger, and the Fire Spirit King, were all on good evolutionary trajectories and had grown together with the recovering Earth. Chu Feng went to the west once and met the Undead Phoenix King. This elegant woman wasn't weak, but she couldn't be too outstanding due to the limitations of Earth's recovery. Chu Feng smiled. He was lost in thought as he recalled their blind date. When he returned from the west and met the old monk Qianjia on Mount Putuo, Chu Feng was stunned. Jiang Luoshan was taken away by Grandmaster Beiji's disciple, an old monk? The Buddhist race's Grandmaster Beiji's Dharma name made Chu Feng speechless. Chu Feng drank one last cup of wine with a group of great demons from Kunlun, including the Mastiff King, the Old Lama, and the Dragoness. Goodbye, everyone. In the end, the real Wu Luanhui went on his way. He carried the two Outer Realm evolvers who had fainted and rushed into outer space. There were traces of blood at the corner of his mouth, and his battle clothes were tattered. Brother Wu, you've finally returned. You're truly righteous and righteous. The dozen or so people from before were still waiting for him, and all of them were praising him excitedly. Then, this group of people erupted and cheered loudly. They sent messages to their clans and spoke on various major platforms, informing Chu Feng of his heroic act of sneaking into Earth to save people and his righteousness. Heated discussions also appeared on various major platforms in the starry sky. Wu Luanhui is the only one who dares to fight to the death with Demon King Chu Feng. He dares to fight intensely and save a group of people. He's extremely talented and will definitely be a powerhouse of his generation in the future. Just like that, Chu Feng's other identity had already attracted heated discussions before he even set off. Many powerful clans were paying attention and wanted to extend an olive branch to him. He stroked his chin. One identity was notorious and was called a human trafficker and an evil demon, while the other identity was considered to be bursting with righteousness. Many people liked him. He was speechless for a moment because this was too extreme. Chu Feng said, Motherf *Ker, it's all your grandfather Chu's fault. You're a great demon with your true temperament, yet you're a bit hypocritical and righteous. Everyone thinks you're good. Fellow Taoists, let's go and leave this planet. We'll come back to fight another day. Demon King Chu Feng, I'll keep your head for now. We'll fight again another day, shouted Wu Luanhui as he withdrew. At this moment, a ready-made super wormhole had already opened. It was the survivors who had contacted their clans to express goodwill to Wu Luanhui here so that he wouldn't have to suffer on the star path. Just like that, Chu Feng reached his destination in one go. He directly entered the depths of the universe and arrived at the most flourishing starry sea. I'm finally out. Chu Feng was deeply moved. Once he entered damning Pure Land, he wouldn't let go of the opportunity to dream of 100 years in one night. How great of a fortune was this? He really needed it. Haha, Demon King Chu Feng, you can only act viciously on Earth. There are all kinds of fortunes in the starry sky, but you can't get them. You can only squat in your nest. Some people on the Origin Beast, Black Blood, and other platforms provoked in a high-profile manner as they mocked Chu Feng. This triggered a heated discussion. Some enemies naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity to ridicule and hit him while he was down because they knew that damning Pure Land had invited many cosmic geniuses, but they didn't give Chu Feng any face and refused him at the door. Oh, damning Pure Land really has integrity. They didn't send invitations to the nouveau riche earthlings and ignored them. I'm very comforted. There were many similar remarks. Those enemies attacked him with words one after another, and their words made people feel rather uncomfortable. Regarding this, Old Donkey, Big Black Yak, and the others on Earth logged into Chu Feng's golden account and made comments according to Chu Feng's wishes. They threatened that if damning Pure Land didn't send invitations, they should just wait to cry. Once these remarks came out, it really made some of damning Pure Land's famous guests nervous. They were really afraid that Yao Yao or some old fellow would suddenly appear with the demon ancestors' cauldron and attack them regardless of the consequences. However, they felt at ease when they thought of Earth's current situation. It was impossible for them to go to war again. Moreover, damning Pure Land had never fallen out of the top 20 in the universe since ancient times when they were at their weakest. They were especially prosperous in this era, and even the top 10 didn't dare to rashly touch them. Come, come, come. If you dare to appear outside my damning Pure Land, this old man will welcome you with open arms and help you lead the way. Yes, if you dare to come, this old one will go 50,000 kilometers into the starry sky to welcome you respectfully. I'll spread golden lotuses along the way and see if you dare to come. The people from damning Pure Land responded very strongly and mocked Chu Feng. We've invited Wu Luanhui. Chu Feng, feel free to come if you're not convinced. The people from the younger generation of damning Pure Land were even more direct and directly challenged him to a fight. Chapter 757. The immortal galaxy was a sea of stars rich in life energy. Vital planets were everywhere and it was extremely prosperous. Ancient books recorded that this was once the homeland of the Phoenix. They had once ruled many planets, but in an unverifiable era, they fought against the alien races and died out. Some people said that the Phoenix used all kinds of secret techniques in hopes of nirvanic rebirth, creating this star field full of vitality. But they never appeared, and this kind of divine bird could no longer be seen in the entire cosmos. It was hard to imagine that this kind of divine bird, which was on par with the dragon race, would actually walk toward destruction. It was really unknown what kind of opponent they encountered. There were many powerful textual research in recent times. My race's old ancestor once said that the Phoenix might have been destroyed because of a war with the people of the Yang realm, said the large man from the deity race. At this time, Chu Feng's party had already arrived at the immortal galaxy. Chu Feng was lost in thought. He realized that all kinds of major events would involve the Yang realm, from the purgatory to the most terrifying ancient battles in the depths of the starry sky, and then to the chaotic universe. The flying Phoenix planet was a huge planet. Standing in the starry sky and looking down, one could see magnificent mountains and rivers and cities everywhere. Chu Feng's party had arrived and was approaching a grand city, Blazing Phoenix City. Blazing Phoenix City was very famous and could be considered the central city of the immortal galaxy. It was vast and flourishing with countless races living here. The most important thing was that there were many teleportation domains here that could directly connect to the deity planet, the quasi-immortal planet, and the Buddhist planet. Therefore, people came and went and many powerful races chose to come here to trade. Here, one could see the famous seniors of the origin demon race, the Tao race, the deity race, and the demon race. One could also see the elites of the top 100 races in the cosmos. The immortal galaxy's Blazing Phoenix City became a link that connected all sides. There were arenas, medicine pavilions, and secret treasure shops everywhere. Every day there was an astronomical amount of transactions. Chu Feng came here to broaden his horizons and also because it was very convenient to go to Daming Pure Land. There were specialized large-scale teleportation domains, so it was convenient and worry-free to go there. What a big city! He sighed and even felt a bit dizzy. This city wall was excessively tall, like a mountain ridge stretching across. It was built from reddish-brown boulders. There was an ancient, desolate aura to it, as if it carried a bloody smell. There were faint runes circulating on the walls, and there were many magnetic stones and high-quality jade stones buried within the walls. They had laid down a large-scale domain that was enough to withstand the fierce attack of an army. Normally, when a secret artifact collided with a wall, the wall would be fine, but the weapon would be broken. The city was bustling with noise and excitement. Chu Feng felt like he didn't have enough eyes to take everything in. There really were all kinds of races: kobolds, silver dragons, fallen angels, dragon sparrows, tautais, and so on. The streets were crowded with people, and the atmosphere of the mortal world was surging. Chu Feng did not feel that he had come to a giant city of evolution, but a world of ancient mortals. Especially when he heard the cries of people selling their wares, he was instantly thrown into confusion. Candied haws, 1,000-year-old treasure medicine. Don't miss it. Chu Feng was speechless after hearing this. He curled his lips. Who was he trying to fool? How could 1,000-year-old candied haw be eaten? It had long since rotted away. The evolver selling the candied haw had sharp ears. He heard Chu Feng's mumbling and immediately became unhappy. He said, "Little brother, you're really not particular. Take a look yourself. Isn't this a purple golden fruit that blooms and bears fruit for 100 years? It's been hanging on the branch for 700 to 800 years. Isn't it 1,000-year-old treasure medicine? That's right, this spirit medicine is real. It can sharpen one's hearing and eyes after eating it. The most important thing is that it can strengthen the muscles and bones and nourish the blood essence." The people in the same line helped Chu Feng to introduce it. "Give me a skewer," said Chu Feng. Why did he feel like he had become a country bumpkin? He had never even eaten a candied haw before. Then, the group of people around him rushed to pay the bill. Soul-nourishing lotus, wow, a real great medicine. It was just dug up from hell. It's on sale now. In the distance, someone stood at the door of a medicine pavilion to advertise. It immediately caused a sensation. Many people flocked over on the street and were surrounded so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Chu Feng and the others also went forward to join in on the fun. Hell was extremely dangerous. There were a large number of hellish ants in the outer region alone. They could even gnaw on people at the Golden Arhat realm, not to mention the deeper regions. Rumor had it that there were black hellish dragons and others there. They were boundlessly terrifying. However, there were also many good things in hell. Those who could come back alive would have a great harvest. It's really a soul-nourishing lotus. It's 9,000 years old. I reckon not many people can afford it, right? Someone whispered. This thing was extremely beneficial to spiritual power. After eating it, it could increase one's spiritual power. Regardless of whether one was weak or strong, which cultivator wouldn't like it? Yes, I'll be frank. This soul-nourishing lotus can't be settled with cosmic dollars. We want a drop of deity elixir. When they heard these words, more than half of the surrounding people immediately left. The deity elixir was easily settled with 10 billion cosmic dollars, and even if one had money, they might not necessarily be able to buy it. There were also people selling it at a high price in the cosmic black market, and the quantity was extremely small. Let's go. This shop is too black-hearted. It's not worth this price at all. Many people were angry. Chu Feng was moved. He had heard of the soul-nourishing lotus before. It could increase spiritual power, and he didn't lack deity elixir on him. He had cheated the deity race many times. especially when Uncle Ming and the others massacred the deity planet last time. They had really found a lot of it from the direct descendants of this race. It was fine if no one was paying attention. He really wanted to buy it, but there was a burly man from the deity race beside him. "Brother, let me tell you, this is a black-hearted shop. Don't look here. Let's go to another shop. There are better things than this, but they don't even need a drop of deity elixir. This shop only cheats those experts who urgently need the soul-nourishing lotus to save their lives." Chu Feng nodded after hearing this. He didn't want to be a sucker. Very soon, there was an even greater disturbance in one part of the city, so much so that it directly caused a huge sensation. Countless people rushed over, and many people were making a racket. The Heavenly Book Palace sold all kinds of battle techniques and scriptures. It was very famous in the starry skies, and now they were actually hawking the deity breathing technique. Next to Chu Feng, the eyes of the burly man from the deity race immediately turned red. This was their race's secret, and it was actually being sold. It was truly preposterous. Chu Feng knew what was going on as soon as he heard this. Uncle Ming and the others had broken through the deity planet and found a portion of the mental technique in several martial arts halls. After piecing it together, it was enough for people to cultivate to the golden body realm. Now, a portion of the elites on Earth had a copy. Even Chu Feng had memorized this portion of the breathing technique and was prepared to practice it. Needless to say, this was something that the group of old saints in the universe's black market had cooked up. They immediately made a copy and sold it. As expected, the person from the Heavenly Book Palace explained, "Everyone, this was placed here by an old gentleman to sell. It has nothing to do with us. We're only collecting a commission. Brother Chu, I'll say goodbye for now. I have to return to my clan." The burly man from the deity race was burning with anxiety as he quickly left. "See you later." Chu Feng cupped his fists. He muttered to himself that the group of people in the universe's black market really knew how to do business. Needless to say, who knew how many copies they had sold in secret? As expected, he used the photon computer to check. The universe's black market had long since boiled over. Many anonymous users were buying. He didn't even need to think about it to know that there were definitely people from the top 10 who weren't afraid that the universe's black market would renege on their debt. This is fine too. I can openly cultivate the deity breathing technique now. Chu Feng smiled. But immediately after, he secretly left a message in code, telling the big black yak and the others to quickly start a price war and sell the deity breathing technique, the spirit race breathing technique, and so on. Earth's harvest this time was huge. The first half of the breathing techniques of several races had been snatched. For example, the Netherworld race's breathing technique was also priceless and ranked 11. It wasn't much weaker than the deity breathing technique. Of course, the machine race's breathing technique was of little value. The metal people's breathing rhythm really wasn't in sync with other creatures. "Everyone, don't accompany me anymore. We'll meet again if fate wills it," Chu Feng said to the others. He really wasn't used to being surrounded by a group of people as there wasn't much privacy. One had to know that he wasn't only Wu Luanhui but also Chu Feng. He had too many secrets, and it was really inconvenient to be followed by a group of people. "All right, Brother Chu, we'll meet again if fate wills it." These people set off one after another and repeatedly emphasized that they hoped he could visit their race as a guest. The legendary seniors of these races had once exhorted them to rope in Wu Luanhui and extend an olive branch. Chu Feng stayed in blazing Phoenix City. When the time came, he would go to Damring Pure Land to attend the meeting. He didn't dare to go too far for fear of missing this great opportunity. He rented a cave residence in the city and cultivated several times a day. From the robbery induction breathing technique to the spirit race breathing technique, then to the netherworld race breathing technique, the effects were extraordinary. In particular, the deity race breathing technique really had a miraculous effect. It made his whole body glow and his bones crackle. It tempered his bones, and even his bone marrow became sparkling and translucent. Chu Feng felt that even if he didn't eat the mutant fruit, he could still break through if he continued to cultivate like this. The deity race breathing technique is peerlessly profound and powerful as expected. After cultivating like this for a few days, Chu Feng comprehended the shadow of a few wonderful techniques from within. After that, he circulated the phoenix breathing technique again. Immediately, his whole body was filled with yang qi, and heat waves surged violently. He had a new kind of feeling. The time is still short. When I enter damning pure land and dream of 100 years in one night, I might be able to thoroughly understand a few kinds of breathing technique. At that time, the benefits will definitely be enormous. Chu Feng felt that the deity race breathing technique and the netherworld race breathing technique were universally shocking. However, he had only started practicing them for a few days and had just grasped the surface. He needed to dig further. He strove to increase his strength once more before entering damning Pure Land. After all, when the time came, he would be facing geniuses from all over the universe, and anything could happen. This cave residence was very quiet. It was on a beautiful mountain peak with dense energy particles and was filled with clouds and mist. At the peak of the Spirit Peak, there were old and strong trees, gurgling springs, and white cranes circling and dancing in the air. In the end, Chu Feng temporarily gave up on the deity race breathing technique and the netherworld race breathing technique, not to mention the spirit race breathing technique. He was comparing the robbery induction breathing technique and the phoenix breathing technique. Both of these breathing techniques could absorb a large amount of yang qi, and when he compared them, he actually gained a lot. Suddenly, he was shocked. Something in his bosom was heating up. He quickly took it out, and it was precisely that stonebok. There was a seed in it that was faintly glowing and absorbing the yang qi he was dispersing. He had long sensed something these few days and discovered that the seed was slightly unusual. As a result, he carried it close to his body to observe it further. He didn't expect the changes to be so intense today. During this period of time, Chu Feng had indeed collected quite a lot of mutant soil with strong spirituality. However, when he tried to plant 3 seeds on Mount Kunlun, there were no result. He felt that the mutant soil's level might still be insufficient. He didn't expect this seed to be abnormal today. The Yang Realm Seed. In a split second, Chu Feng had a flash of inspiration. He felt that he might be able to guess the reason. Back then, the #1 expert in the universe, the mighty predecessor of the dragon race, had once said that he suspected it was related to the seed in the stone box if he wanted to find the Yang Realm Seed. The so-called Yang Realm Seed needs Yang Qi. I used the seed to blossom and bear fruit in the early days to evolve. Even though I replenished its life essence and energy, I've been consuming its Yang Qi all along. Chu Feng felt that he had figured it out all of a sudden and was immediately excited. Did this mean that he could let the seed take root and germinate again before blossoming and bearing fruit? He was immediately excited. These 3 seeds were absolutely incomparably terrifying. He even felt that they were much stronger than the great evolutionary medicines planted in the ancestral lands of various races. At the same time, Ouyang Feng was transforming at Mount Kunlun on Earth. He woke up in his cocoon and cried on the spot when he saw his current appearance. "Oh, I don't want to live anymore. How can I meet people like this? How can I enter the starry sky? How can I rendezvous with Chu Feng and wreak havoc in damning Pure Land? I want to die. Oh." He was so thick-skinned and always had no moral integrity, but he couldn't stand seeing his current appearance and collapsed. "Hey, little brother Ouyang, you've awakened. What have you transformed into? Quickly come out and let us see," shouted the big black yak from outside. Old Donkey also bared his buck teeth and shouted, "Hee-haw, come out. No matter how ugly you are, can you be uglier than your toad body that was covered in golden stripes? Chapter 758. Correction, I should have called Chu Feng Brother Wu in the previous chapter. This has been corrected. The Manchurian tiger grinned. We definitely won't stop you. Do you want to slit your throat or hang yourself? Do you want a knife or a rope? We'll send it to you. The black yak nodded. I think you should just jump into the river. Brother Ouyang, do you need help? We'll throw you into the river. The horse king rubbed his shiny bald head and said, I won't drown. It's amphibious. The old donkey added, roast it. Frog meat is delicious, fragrant and tender. Actually, boiled frog is fine too. Brother, tell us how you want to die. We'll fulfill your wish. Son, you idiot. The Ouyang toad was infuriated and struggled in the cocoon. He really wanted to rush out and fight them. In the end, he spat and said, This divine king doesn't want to die. I'll go back and suppress you all one by one. You've gone too far. At this moment, the clairaudient Ouyang Qing, the old man Lu Tong, and Yi Qingru were all at Kunlun. Yellow Ox waved his hand and called the clairvoyant Du Huaijin over so that he could see the toad's condition. Around him, a group of people suddenly revealed strange expressions, and then became excited. All of them were silent and didn't make a sound, indicating for Du Huaijin to see clearly. After Du Huaijin had evolved to a certain level, his eyes were bright like two light bulbs. They flickered and could see through ordinary obstacles. Swoosh, swoosh. 2 beams of golden light shot out from his eyes as he stared at the cocoon. At this moment, the clairvoyant had also come over. His ears were too big and could actually flap, almost turning into a pair of wings. He was listening to the toad's heartbeat, breathing, and other vital signs. Who's shining a light on me? The toad was very alert and discovered 2 beams of golden light shining in. How is it? The black yak, the Manchurian tiger, and Zhou Quan were all looking forward to it. They asked the clairvoyant in a low voice, all of them eager to see the toad's current state. Although the cocoon is in the way and I can't see clearly, it should have transformed into a worm, said Du Huaijin with a strange expression. Ah! The group cried out. They had never thought that the toad would turn into a worm. It can't have become a 9-headed worm, right? Old Donkey bared his buckteeth as his imagination ran wild. At this time, the clairaudient Ouyang Qing also whispered to everyone, He's breathing with his cheeks. In the blink of an eye, everyone was petrified. Even the dragoness and Yi Qingru felt dizzy. What kind of monster had this toad become? You guys are spying on me. Ouyang Feng was flustered and exasperated. His entire large cocoon was rolling around in the mountainous region. He was furious. Then, everyone looked at each other, wondering what he had become. Although the yellow oxman was small, he spoke in a very mature tone. This is atavism. Everyone was dumbfounded. In fact, they quickly guessed what Ouyang Feng had become. However, this was definitely not atavism. This fellow should be growing in reverse. The black yak grinned and said, Brother, I really envy you. You've actually reversed your growth. Then, he actually began to sing. With a heroic and stirring appearance, he said, I really want to live for another 500 years, to borrow another 500 years from the heavens. Everyone rubbed their foreheads. This old ox was poking at Toad's weak spot. As expected, Toad howled loudly and the entire cocoon flew up. He said, This grandpa is going to die from anger. Motherf *cur, I've transformed into a giant tadpole. Old ox, I'll fight it out with you. After this was confirmed, everyone was speechless. This kind of transformation was too outrageous. No matter how much it changed, it didn't deviate from its original form. It was still a toad. Boom. Boom. The rocks in this area exploded and the short mountain collapsed. Toad had gone crazy. He was in the large cocoon and attacked the mountains in all directions. In the end, even Yao Yao and young lady She were alarmed. A group of people pressed down on Toad and confined him to the ground. They asked Yao Yao to see what was going on. Ouyang Toad immediately cried and said, "Elder sister, save me! My life was originally bitter enough. I was born like a dragon and even turned into a golden divine bird. But in the end, I grew into a toad and never changed. This time, the curse in my blood was completely removed. I went into seclusion to cultivate, but who knew that my grandpa would turn me into a giant tadpole?" He practically had snot and tears running down his face. When he spoke of his sorrow, he knocked his head on the ground and smashed a large piece of the blue stone floor with a thud. Everyone looked at Yao Yao, wanting to hear her opinion. Unexpectedly, Yao Yao's eyes blossomed with divine light. After seeing his state through the large cocoon, she didn't comfort him in the slightest. She said calmly, "It's very normal." Hearing such calm words, Toad immediately cried and shouted, "Elder sister, immortal, you can't be so indifferent. You've already turned into a tadpole. How is it normal? You guys kill me. This divine king is really ashamed to see people. I don't have the face to live." Old Donkey and the big black yak were grinning. Only she didn't understand the situation and revealed a sympathetic expression. "You're just scaring yourself. Actually, you're in a cocoon state now. You'll change again when you break out of the cocoon. I've seen your ancestors, so I understand them very well." Yao Yao spoke calmly and kicked the large cocoon lightly. "What are you doing in there? Come out early and get some fresh air. You'll be able to complete the 4th transformation within a month. This divine king is here. The intense transformation is about to begin." Ouyang Feng became spirited all of a sudden. From a frosted eggplant to an excited state, everything was completed in an instant. Bang! The large cocoon exploded and a giant tadpole jumped out. However, it was a little special because its whole body was covered in golden stripes. It stood upright and was immensely proud of itself as it said, "This divine king has returned." He really was a spiritual and emotional creature. Now, he was full of spirit and wasn't depressed anymore. Then, his face turned green because a group of people were pointing their photon computers at him and taking pictures. His image was fixed and locked onto. "Delete them all. You're not allowed to keep them," shouted the toad. But who would listen to him now? A group of people said they wanted to keep it as a collector's edition. "You bunch of June Tua eggs, I curse you all to be struck by lightning," howled the toad. However, he was struck by lightning 2 days later because the transformation this time had entered a critical stage. His strength had suddenly increased and reached the mid-Cloud Eater realm, attracting lightning strikes. Everyone was shaken. As expected of a divine beast, this kind of cultivation speed was too terrifying. Now, only Chu Feng and the yellow cattle could compare to him. Even the black yak who possessed the innocuous yak demonic physique stared blankly and said, "I've been struck by lightning so quickly?" Ouyang Feng shouted, "God, are you playing with me? In my current state, my whole body is soft meat and I don't even have bones. How do you expect me to block the lightning? Why don't you strike them instead of your grandpa?" This lightning strike was very intense. Lightning interweaved and surged violently, drowning that place for a long time. In the end, Ouyang Feng howled like a ghost and cursed continuously. He crawled out of the ashes, his whole body almost cooked from the electricity. "This is bad. Why am I becoming uglier and uglier?" After Ouyang Feng used clean water to wash his body, his face turned completely green. He cursed others to be struck by lightning, but in the end, he suffered it himself. He cursed others to be June Tua eggs, but now he was becoming more and more like them. That was because a big bulge appeared on his back like a big turtle shell. Other than that, his cheeks had also disappeared. He stuck his head out and looked a little like a June Tua. Motherf *Cur, Villainous heavens, are you playing with me? This is this divine king's fourth form? IF*CKU. Ouyang Feng was anxious because he really couldn't accept this. The Black Yak said mysteriously, "Brother, have you been cursing ancient Saint June Tua too ruthlessly recently? Have you been cursed by him?" Old Donkey also bared his teeth and said, "That's right. That's an ancient saint. It's said that he grasped all kinds of ancient methods, such as witchcraft. I reckon that you've always cursed him, so he used an altar and other methods to plot against you through the void." Ouyang Feng immediately shivered. He was really paranoid at this juncture. After that, he was thoroughly enraged. He used his battle robe to cover his face and body, took the photon computer, and challenged June Tua to a fight on the Origin Beast platform. "Old June Tuaeg, get out here. You actually dare to plot against Uncle Ouyang? Come out. This divine king will curse you to death." This kind of challenge immediately attracted the attention of countless people. Which masked hero was this? Everyone was immediately delighted when they saw his golden account. Divine King Ouyang, an evolver from Earth. June Tua was stupefied. He really didn't know what was going on. Why was he being scolded again? Recently, he originally wanted to set off to the dilapidated universe in the primal chaos, but he was delayed because he was in a bad mood previously. He still didn't set off even after the other saints had left. In the end, he was being scolded again now. June Tua. He really couldn't make heads or tails of it. He looked at the masked kid whose saliva was splattering everywhere, and then looked at his golden account and introduction. Motherf*** as expected, he came from Earth. June Tua was scared out of his wits right then and there. He was so annoyed that he smashed the jade table with a slap and even cracked the entire cave residence. He said furiously, "You're going too far." It was that group of little brats from Earth again. They were scolding him for no reason. "Hairy brats from Earth, come out! This saint will exterminate all of you." Ancient Saint June Tua flew into a rage and roared on the Origin Beast platform. He wanted to exterminate a group of people. On Earth, Ouyang Feng was suspicious. Looking at June Tua's appearance, he probably wasn't the one who did it. "June Tua, it's none of your business." After hearing these words, Ancient Saint June Tuo's nose almost became crooked from anger. What had he, a saint, become? This group of little brats on Earth didn't have the slightest reverence in their hearts. They ordered him around and caused trouble for him for no reason. It had already become the norm. It was too shameful. Celebrity Protection Association, are you guys going to do something about this? Lord June Tua, our president and vice president, have gone to the primal chaos universe. We can't do anything about this matter. June Tua was furious. He officially marched into the dilapidated universe and left his old nest. He really had enough. He couldn't afford to provoke them, but he could afford to hide. More than half a month later, Ouyang Feng officially completed his transformation. His fourth form made everyone dumbstruck and he was driven mad. At this moment, he was carrying a large turtle shell on his back. Its entire body was pitch black and all the golden stripes had already disappeared. F***CK your grandpa. This divine king is taking the blame? He was like a human-shaped black tortoise, standing upright with long legs and upper arms. The tortoise shell was thick and jet black. Not long after, a strange sound came from the tortoise shell. Flapping sounds could be heard, and a pair of black wings extended out from the cracks. Following that, he underwent his final transformation. His mouth became long, thin, and hard. It was jet black and shiny as it became a bird's beak. Brother Feng, you've become handsome. You're too good-looking. Old Donkey ignored his conscience and flattered Ouyang Feng because he was afraid that Ouyang Feng would settle accounts with him after his transformation and ruthlessly tidy him up. Some time ago, Old Donkey had taken joy in Ouyang Feng's misfortune and ridiculed Toad. Really? Ouyang Feng stroked his chin and was immediately startled. Why did he feel that something was wrong? It's true. I'm as handsome as a black swan. Old Donkey nodded his head with all his might. Ouyang Feng was stunned. He turned into a beam of light and arrived at the riverside to look at his appearance. The lower half of his body was like a black mountain turtle standing upright, while the upper half of his body was like a black swan. It was just that he had an extra pair of long arms. This made him dumbstruck and he shrieked. Yellow Cattle preferred to tell the truth and said, "This is the legendary golden toad that wants to eat swan meat. For the sake of his ideals, he strives until his dreams come true." Ouyang Feng screamed. On this day, he slanted his eyes and spat violently. He didn't like everyone, so he beat up Old Donkey and challenged Old Bull. In the end, he ran out of Earth with a belly full of anger. He wanted to cause havoc in damning Pure Land and meet up with Chu Feng. Chu Feng had been circulating the robbery induction and phoenix breathing techniques for so many days. He had already gathered quite a bit of yang qi, which was absorbed by one of the seeds. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.